Well, we are in the middle of a Corrie murder mystery. Very exciting. It feels like, do they do these really often or rarely? I mean, I suppose there was a bit of a murder mystery earlier this year, except there just wasn't a murder in the end with Lauren. What's happened to her.
I know, it does feel...
This has been the year of mysteries. I do wonder how much of it was influenced by the 6 last year and Corrie saying, well, we can do our own mystery.
I know, but it's weird to do it in the same story, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether it's poetic justice to Joel, if he was the instigator of the previous whodunit and now he's become a victim of his own. I think that works out quite nicely.
I still think he's alive. He's alive somewhere.
No, he's definitely not alive somewhere. His body has been found floating in a river in a bag. Don't think there's going to be much getting out of that one, unfortunately. As for who did it, still don't really have a clue, but we will be sharing our theories later on once we've talked about it. So I don't have a whole load of great storyline titles for this week, but I'm quite pleased with my storyline title for Joel, which is Briefs Down, which is a bit rude. So Briefs Down, that is Joel. I had a few others like Joel in a Hole, except he wasn't in a hole, he was in a river, and Joel to the Death, which is like Jewel to the Death.
No.
But none of them were that good. Even Briefs Down isn't the best, to be honest.
No, I like Briefs Down, that's funny.
Thanks. Jessie, Gail and House for Sale. Just gone for a little rhyming one for what's going on at number 8. I like my rhymes. We also had a little bit more of the Toya, Nick's, Leanne's boyfriend story. There wasn't a whole lot of that particular angle in it, but it seems that it's going to be going back there very, very soon. Again, I couldn't think of any other storyline title. We had a little bit more of the Paul Over story with poor Gemma and about 3 scenes of State with a Vape as well on Monday.
You didn't take my... What did I say? I came up with an idea. Gemma Collier.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, to sound like melancholy. Gemenon.
Gemelancholy.
No, I just can't even say it.
You can pronounce it with a H sometimes, if that helps. State with a Vape.
State... What? Yeah, no. Briefs Down, we're going to talk about
I know,
first.
but you didn't say the last one.
Yes, I did. You weren't listening.
I was thinking about something else, so it didn't
definitely
count.
said it. So... The murder mystery story then. As I said earlier in the podcast, I did go into Mondays sadly knowing that there was going to be a reveal of a whodunit, so I was quite excited about when it was going to appear in the episode.
Can we just talk about, quickly, if Joel indeed is dead?
Of course he's dead. Why is it even brought up to... What do you mean?
I'm allowed to say what I want. What do you think about killing him off if indeed he is dead?
Surprise. When I found out about this last week, when I annoyingly saw it online, I was certainly shocked. I did not think we wouldn't be seeing him again. When we had that phone call with him in the car, gosh, that must be 3 weeks away now. And then we got the cars discovered, the 2 cars, the one in the field, the one by the viaduct, the following Monday. I thought, well, he's hidden out somewhere, or this is just a ruse. He's parked it up somewhere. He's gone underground somewhere. He would pop up again for maybe a grand finale. I think we even said that on the podcast he's just yeah, exactly. He's going to pull a Phelan. He's going to pull a Hillman. He's going to come up for a final blaze of glory. I mean, we haven't seen the last of him on the show. He even popped up in tonight's episode in a flashback.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely dead and gone on the street now, and yeah,
I'm disappointed.
I kind of thought that he would probably be leaving. He seemed to have a shelf life,
yeah.
But I did not in any way predict it was going to turn into a murder mystery in the slightest. I thought it would be another case of I thought he might get killed off at the end, because that seems to be all they can do for Coronation Street villains these days. That you're lucky if you get banged up behind bars. But go on, what do you think?
I just kind of if he is indeed dead, think that it was a mistake to kill him off, even though I do like murder mysteries. Obviously this means now someone else is going to leave the show if it's somebody that is a character. If it's not a character, then it's a cop-out. So you get 2 for 1 to get rid of 2 people. But
whoever it is not going to get away with it. You can't say, well, it was dispensing soap justice, so we'll just give you a bit of a slap on the wrist and send you on your way.
But he hasn't killed anybody. I thought Joel might survive, because most of the time a villain will die because they've killed somebody.
He certainly seems to have, his crimes, as horrific as they were,
yeah,
seems to be on the lesser side compared to some Corrie villains who've met their maker.
If he did get in trouble for the pills, what would he have been charged with? Would it have been attempted murder or... I don't know.
Well, he had his he absconded from his plea hearing. Didn't he?
I don't remember they said that he was in trouble.
I thought it was.
I mean, really, it should be attempted murder because he tried to kill a baby.
Yeah, I think it was something along those lines. It was because Frankie had got sick. Do you remember? And they was like, oh, if Frankie dies now, then Joel will.
Yes.
Then it will be attempted murder.
Well, no, it would be murder
or manslaughter,
it? Yeah.
or
No, it would be murder if the child
dies.
yes,
of course, that's right. But yeah, you know, he was pretty callous. But
I know, but it's not a crime.
No, exactly. You know, I do think that they kill off soap villains probably a little bit more often than they do, but it often is quite fun, isn't it?
I know they do it too much on Coronation Street. I really think it's a bit boring now.
But seeing somebody get tripped up in court and then taken down and just have the doors closed on them in prison, it's not as satisfying.
It's not as satisfying, but you know they could come back to cause havoc again. And
I don't think I need Joel to come back.
Oh, I do. I think it'd be great. I don't know whether Dee-Dee pretended to kill him because he's not really dead.
I have enjoyed him to an extent, but he's not up there with some of my favourite Corrie villains. I'd rather, I really would rather had Stephen had gone to prison, and I thought that his death was a little bit of a damp squib being bumped by by Peter Barlow. I thought him coming back would be fab.
They could have used a murder mystery for Stephen, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm not too fussed that Joel's gone forever. But to see, does your love of murder mysteries kind of override that?
It's hard to say. I am really enjoying it. If you give me the choice, though, I would have said keep Joel and kill someone else off.
Kill off
as a murder mystery.
Kill off Kit. Kill off Swain.
Well,
kill off Swain's silent partner.
Any of those
I haven't seen him
people.
recently.
What about Bostello?
Bostello, yeah, could have killed off Bostello, but then you wouldn't have the same viewer engagement. But that does lead into one of my kind of criticisms about it. The things that don't just quite sit with me is that many of the characters that are involved in this are ones that are kind of new, and pretty much everyone's dispensable, I'm going to say. Out of the main players. If this had been, at the heart of the street, if it had been murder mystery with the Platts, murder mystery with the Barlows, murder mystery with the Websters, maybe, I think the stakes would have been a lot higher than they are here. Because who have you got on your main cast? You got Dee-Dee, who, yes, is very popular at the moment, but she's only been on the show a few years, and I think her popularity is partly down to just how much they've used her this year. I think she's great, but I think
was she in the cast photo?
I don't think Shanique was on front row quite yet. You got Swain, who's obviously got a recent surge in popularity, but absolutely dispensable.
I would not want to be on the wrong side of those fans if you decide to kill off or make Swain a murderer.
Yeah, I know exactly. You got Ronnie. He could go. You got Ed, same. Although I don't think Ed's really that much in the frame. You got Mason. Definitely
dispensable.
Who else we got? Betsy. All of these characters are ones. Kit, exactly. I've been saying for the last few months that one of my issues with Corrie this year is that this main story has revolved around characters that we just haven't got to know and love quite so much as the golden oldies yet. And maybe that could have made it a bit better, but I'm still enjoying it, and I think that the use of flashbacks... What
about Mason's brother? If it turns out to be him...
No, it's not going to be him,
It'll be Pants.
Yeah, I'm slightly trepidatious in that Corrie's history with murder mysteries or just, whodunits in general isn't always... The reveal isn't always as good as the build-up and the excitement to it, is it? Yeah. The classic is, which of these characters has bumped off this villain? Or innocent person or whoever. And then the reveal is, it's none of them. You never guessed this, did you? It was Anne Malone that killed her son... Not Anne Malone, sorry. Anne Foster that killed her son, Frank. And we kind of guessed that. And you didn't have it in any of your... So I do my hope for it. Well, one of my hopes for this story is actually one of the suspects that did it.
Well, they're slowly putting together a photo of the suspects on social media, aren't they? They've got a picture of the police station foyer, and they're filling up the chairs and
it's just got Mason and Ronnie in it at the moment.
No, it's got Dee-Dee and.
Oh, has it? I've not seen the updated one.
Yeah, why did I see that then?
I don't know, I've not seen that at all.
Yeah.
But I quite like that they're doing that, superimposing all these characters into it. And obviously you got the flashback as the narrative device. How would you feel about the way that they're using flashbacks, like 2 or 3 per episode?
They're too short. I don't know.
They are very short, and I think at the time, when we're watching the flashbacks, I'm like, no, I want to know more. But I think the brevity is helping get them even more exciting, because it's leaving me saying, show me more. That's kind of the reaction that they're probably wanting. They want you to say, I can't wait, what's going to happen next? I want to keep on watching so I can get another little sliver of what happened on that night. And I guess it might eke it out a little bit longer too. I've never been a huge fan, as you know, of the different editing techniques or the storytelling techniques with flashbacks, flash forwards, flash whatever. But I've surprised myself at how much or how little this has bothered me. Well, it's the opposite. It's now like, I can't wait to see the flashbacks. And I never thought I'd see that about Coronation Street, which for me has always been perfectly fine being linear. It really, really works for me.
I just wonder, like, what are we gonna just go through them one by one until, and every episode will have flashbacks until we are revealed who killed Joel?
Well, maybe it depends. Like, is this story going to keep going every week now until the reveal?
Yeah.
Or is it? Are we going to get, like, I don't know, a 3-week burst of it, and then it's going to go on the back burner for a bit, and then it's going to come again?
And what's this building up to? Is there anything it's building up to, like a time?
Well, I think Super Soap Week hasn't happened this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they've finally broken free of those restrictions that they'd, self-imposed restrictions. And this week, it felt like a big-ish week, but it didn't feel like it was Super Soap Week, and it was never advertised as Super Soap Week. When we also had just recently Paul's death, the funeral. There's been a few weeks that could be argued as being big-ish weeks, but there isn't anything that's felt quite as big as Super Soap Week has done. Like last year's with Stephen's death, that was not as big as it has been, but it was definitely it. So no, I think the next thing that we're building up to is Christmas, I suppose. So maybe they'll string it out till then, and it's only 2 months away.
Get your shopping done.
But I kind of want to know already. I want to know now. But equally, I want it to be dragged out because I like putting the pieces together. I think I think that side of it is hitting just right for me. They're teasing. They're really, really keeping us on the edge of our seats with this. And I just wish but more of the characters involved were ones that I cared more about.
I don't mind. I find them quite fun. I wonder whether at the end, when we have the full photo, whether they'll, because they're putting it together bit by bit, which is quite clever. So I wonder whether they're going to not put the final person on, and when they do, that's the person who did it. Or if they're going to go, here's your picture of all the suspects, and then it turns out it's not somebody in the photo, but then they put him in the photo at the last.
Yeah, I really, really hope they don't do that. We had the Who Pushed Ken, didn't we, back in 2017, which turned out to be Daniel.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a cast photo of all the suspects there with Phelan in the middle, and I think Adam was to one side of it, and I'm pretty sure Daniel was on there, and it did turn out to be him. And I think when we got the reveal that it was Daniel, we weren't expecting it on that day. It was when he takes the book, the bloodied book that he's got underneath the floorboards at the flat, do you remember? And then it's like, oh my gosh, it was Daniel. And I kind of want to be caught off guard. I don't want it to be tonight's the night that you'll find out who killed Joel. I want to be caught off guard by that.
I don't know how they could have done this, but imagine if in the photo already, before they revealed the suspects, you had like Swain and Kit like standing, like, we're going to arrest whoever it is. We're just waiting in this photo to, and then it turns out it's one of them at the end.
Yeah.
And it was like
I mean, we'll talk about who we. Yeah, we if I understood betting odds, we'd be certainly putting some up for the suspects this week. Sorry, but I don't really understand it. So we'll certainly talk about who we think is more or less likely at this stage to be the perpetrator. But I think we need to get through the story and what happened first. So should we kick off and just take a rundown of the happenings this week?
What we do, isn't it?
This is what we do. So it starts in the Rovers, and Kit's going through the paper. Jenny comes down and he gets a call from Tinks, and I did like how he had Craig in his phone as Tinks. Jenny's trying to listen in because she's a bit of a gossip hound, and Kit's saying, what station? Which station? Or something like that. So he goes to the police station later.
Maybe Craig's like, they're playing on my song request.
Yeah. At the station later, Joel's checking out the CCTV of the area. I kind of missed, and I forgot to go back to check how he got this CCTV, because it's the place with the storage locker, isn't it? Now, what happened? I've forgotten. What happened at the storage locker? Who left what? Who picked what?
So Joel's left money, it turns out, from the cancelled wedding between him and Dee-Dee.
Yeah. He's
left that money. I can't remember how much it turned out to be, like 15 grand or something.
Something like that.
And he's left it in a storage locker for Gus. Gus takes the money and goes and rents Joel a flat in Flint, which is in North Wales, and then he leaves the keys for that flat in the storage locker for Joel to pick up.
That's right.
And Joel
never turns up.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Some of this comes out in the interview later in the station.
I spent quite a lot of time on Monday thinking, is he going to get that back? The landlord, this landlord in Flint's like laughing now, isn't he? He's got a year's worth of rent on, and somewhere's going to be empty.
Yeah,
Who's going to go there? Who's going to live there?
By the way, behind the scenes fans, this storage locker was filmed. If you've been to the Coronation Street experience and you see the film that they show you, and then they take you out through the doors into the car park, which is used as the Corrie cast members car park, but also doubles as Weatherfield General and Freshco. When you go out through that door, immediately turn right, and that's where you get a set of stairs, and this is where the storage locker was filmed. Also used earlier this year for, I think there was a scene with Joel chasing Ellie down some steps or something. But anyway, yeah, so Kit has found Gus on camera, hauls him into the station, and Gus kind of tells him everything that's been going on, and they're a bit concerned. Well, Gus is definitely concerned. He's got no idea where his son is. So that's kind of the mystery left there. Meanwhile, back out on the street, you got Dee-Dee meeting up with Ronnie and Ed in speed dial. Dee-Dee is still looking a little suspicious about about everything that's been going on. Luckily, we do find out by the end of the week why she's making these.
She's giving suspicious looks
to camera.
About Dee-Dee, Ronnie and Ed talking about.
Yeah.
About Joel.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to think on Monday that maybe she knows. Well, she does know more, but she also knows more about what her family's been getting up to than they realise.
Yes, exactly. I kind of want to go back and just watch this week now. Now I know what the flashbacks have shown me, but haven't got time. So the police interview scene ends with Kit saying, "Well, where do you suppose your son is then, Gus?" And Gus is like, "Well, you're the copper." And then this then transfers to a scene outside by the lake.
It was weird.
Beautiful, sun-dappled riverbank with some boys having a few beers, were they there?
Yeah, there was like a bunch of establishing shots or something, like it was a music video or...
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there was certainly music in it. I hated this. I absolutely despised the editing in this because it just has some god-awful sort of mystery music. It was just cheesy. Like sinister, cheesy music it was kind of nice music that then went dark. It didn't work. Completely and utterly unnecessary.
It did feel a bit like, oh, here we go, we're watching a gritty ITV crime drama.
That's what they thought they were making, I think.
It doesn't.
Because the visuals were enough on their own. You see this body-shaped bag floating down the river, and the boys are pointing at it, and there you go. There's dead Joel. Dead Joel.
Or is it?
Yes, it is. It definitely is. It's confirmed later. We have a few scenes of there was a scene with Lauren having a go at Betsy in the cafe later just for getting the drugs that nearly killed her baby off. I don't think anything particularly much developed from there. Then you get Kit coming back.
Lauren also a suspect.
Lauren also a suspect. There's lots of suspects, and again, a lot of them very dispensable characters.
Bobby and Max.
Could be. Kit's been at Joel's flat. Later on, he comes back to the station. He said like it was empty, apart from a couple of things in the fridge that Gus probably put there for Joel when he were to arrive in this new flat in Flint. It's definitely not been lived in. Then Craig comes in and breaks the news that Joel Deering has been found dead. Swain, Lisa, looking a little nervous at this point, and I don't know whether it's just the fact that her integrity is now in tatters after she's been so adamant that he killed himself. Because unless he did it unless he managed to wrap himself up afterwards, I don't think this is suicide here.
Weirder things have been claimed to have happened than that, but I don't see how...
It's a good little ruse, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to make a statement by throwing yourself into a bridge, but first up you wrap yourself in a body bag, zip yourself up and just kind of plop over the bridge into the water.
But the thing about it is, how long has he been floating along here?
Well, 2-3 weeks.
Quite a while. Nobody's seen him, but it wasn't even
very slow
like
current.
A slightly disguised shape. It was like the most body-shaped plastic bag I've ever seen. So...
I mean, there is the possibility, I suppose, that whoever the murderer is has been storing him somewhere and is like, they're onto me. Now I'm going to put him in the river because, has he just been lodged somewhere? Has he been used as a bit of a nest for neighbouring swans? And then they've got rid of him.
I love. Already established earlier that I love my conspiracy theories. What if Joel did kill himself, but somebody's wrapped him up to make it look like a murder and thrown him in the water?
So somebody's found him dead.
Yeah.
After he killed himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
for some stupid
not
reason. Not impossible. That will make no sense really when they explain it, because there's been a few things like that.
I really want it to be something clever.
I don't think half of these suspects I don't think would be physically capable of wrapping somebody up and chucking him in the river without being seen by somebody. I don't see how.
It was out in the sticks. I think they could. I don't think.
How do you know it was out in the sticks?
Well, there weren't any. It was in the countryside, wasn't it? It was a way away.
What? Where they found his car?
Yeah, I assume that the river was.
Where's the river there?
Well, where's the nearby?
I know, but they haven't.
The great outdoors.
This is why. A murder mystery doesn't really work in Coronation Street, because no one's concerned about the real nitty-gritty details that would help you actually solve the case. And that's why murder mysteries work and why they're fun, because you can actually put it together. But Coronation Street is a soap, so they're not going to go, let's visit the point where we think Joel's body was dropped into the river, because that could be a clue, because it would be a clue. Because the other thing to consider is, whoever killed him then must have a car.
Why are you so adamant that they're not going to go back and find all that?
Because why would they bother? It's a soap, it's not a murder mystery story.
But they think they're a murder mystery story.
But did you just hear my point, though, about the car? Betsy doesn't have a car. If Betsy's done this, she would have had to have done it with somebody else, like Max. Who has access to a car and who doesn't have access to a car?
Well, I think as this is Coronation Street, it's pretty much nobody has a car until they need to be seen in a scene driving a car, and then suddenly they've got one.
Yeah, that's true. But you see, again, just like if this was a murder mystery, you would know the answer to that question and it would have been established already. Not like hand waved over, don't worry about that.
Yeah, well, that's not detracted from my enjoyment.
No, I'm just saying though.
Yeah.
When at the end of it, you wouldn't have been able to guess.
No.
Because there wasn't ever going to be enough information for you to, but it's not supposed to be that, but it's so similar to a murder mystery story that you want it to be like a proper one.
I think if you're watching a murder mystery, especially if it's like, an hour-long one, or if it's a play or a film or something, they'll often put the clues in, but because you watch it all in one go, you haven't got time to talk to your friend or go on social media and look at all the theories. Yeah. It's so difficult now for a soap to do something like this, because it goes across weeks and everybody talks about it, and every clue that there could possibly be has been found and dissected by somebody. And that's just kind of the way that...
Well, somebody's guessed already and written it on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I think we will. I don't want to say who we think it is and look at all the motives and everything yet, but I think that there's one very, very, very obvious person that's responsible for this, and I just really hope it's not them, because that's far too obvious.
When are you going to say at the end?
Yeah, at the end when we've been through it all. I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd like to be surprised by this. Anyway, so then we basically for the rest of the episode see scenes of people being told about Joel. So Kit tells Dee-Dee and Lauren about it at the hospital. Dee-Dee is pretty stunned by this news. It seemed like genuine surprise that he was dead. Lauren doesn't react too much. She doesn't look surprised. I don't know whether that's evidence that she knew it or whether she just... it's kind of washed over her and it's like, oh, at last that's over, or she just kind of looked like a normal knocked off self, really. And it's not that she can't act or react or anything like this. I think it just kind of left her a bit hollow hearing this news, a bit shell-shocked,
I don't know whether it's a bit early to really have a nuanced reaction to it, but if I was Lauren, I'd be thinking, well, that's great, because now I will get no child support from him, no money apart from what's in his estate, because that would be, no matter what happens, even if he's in prison, don't you, or do you not get
I don't know
any
how
money?
It works. I'm not sure.
But that's that. Not only that, but obviously the father of a child is died.
I mean, do you think that Lauren? Yeah, do you think that she wanted him dead? I don't know whether we know Lauren well enough to be able to say she wanted him dead, or whether she just wanted him out of her life.
It's not in her best interests financially to kill him, but I don't know whether emotionally she didn't care. If she did kill him. He's
obviously put her through so much that many people would say, I want him dead.
And also, that he would mess with her. Like, if he... Because he's got... he wouldn't be able to practice as a lawyer, but he could represent himself in things, I guess, and he could still make her life hell. If he decided he wanted... if he did his time and came out, and then he wanted the kid to take custody of the kid, I don't know that he would be allowed to. I would find it very difficult to believe anyone would let him. But he could certainly make her life miserable.
Well, she says at the end of the scene, well, at least he can't hurt us now.
I'd be terrified of him for the rest of my life if I was her or Dee-Dee.
Why? What?
Well, if he didn't die.
Yeah, but he's definitely dead. Definitely dead. Pub people get told about it. Dee-Dee's woken up after having a bit of a nightmare about Joel on the sofa and burst into tears. She is so fragile all week. We now know the reason for this, because she saw him not long before he died. Whether or not she's responsible for his murder is yet to be seen. So, but if not, she's at least scared that she's going to be
in
trouble because the law's going to catch up with her and find out that she saw him in his car, which
I just love the fact
on Friday's flashback
that the most exciting evening of Coronation Street action happened the night that Joel was killed, and we never got to see it apart from in flashbacks. Like, everyone in Weatherfield was running around in the dark with crowbars. Two different sets of characters had crowbars running around.
Well, I thought there was three, wasn't there? Well, you got the actual... You
Ronnie the murderer
You got Ronnie's... Yeah, the murderer's crowbar, which I think is probably...
Not either Dee-Dee's.
No, I think it probably is. Oh. I think that it is. So... But maybe it's not. So there's the murderer's crowbar, there's Ronnie and Ed's crowbar, you got Dee-Dee's crowbar.
Where'd she get it from? Oh yeah,
did she get it
was
after
it hers?
that?
I don't know, but yeah.
And you got Mason's crowbar as well.
That's right.
I don't know. Do people have crowbars as much in real life?
We don't have a crowbar.
We don't have a crowbar.
I'm going to get one on Amazon. I think we
don't
need
do
one.
it. You're going to be implicated in the next body that comes floating down the river Itchen.
Shut up, Michael. I'm getting an alibi for buying my crowbar.
The river's just a 5-minute walk down the road. We could definitely stash a body in there if we wanted to.
But see, Michael, we get a crowbar and kill somebody with it, right? And then the police find we bought a crowbar, and they're like, why did you buy a crowbar? And we say, because we're stupid nerds. And then they question people who know us, who know the podcast. And they're like, yeah, that is the sort of crazy nerd thing that they would do. I don't think they did kill this person. See? Free murder.
Yeah.
I'm just going to Google crowbar. I don't know what you use a crowbar for that isn't a crime. I've never seen one used.
This is true, actually.
I've never seen one used.
The primary purpose seems to be to clonk someone around the head with.
Or break open a
crate. Maybe.
What do you use a crowbar for? everybody tell me, because I literally have never seen anyone use it except
for nefarious purposes. Yeah. It's a bit like, you get these you get the bongs, don't you? You can buy that because technically, they're not selling the illegal drugs. They just say, well, use this for what you want. And maybe that's the same with the crowbar people. Like, the crowbar people know that they're basically arms manufacturers here, but
weapons dealers.
Yeah,
basically being cute.
And the candlestick makers. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you got to watch yourself.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't really want to kill anyone at the moment though. So
well, it's like 15 quid, so.
Nah, not worth it for 15 quid.
No.
It's alright, everyone can stay alive. So we've got Monday's episode, I forgot, it had a time shift, didn't it? It had the next morning.
And now no one knows what day
which they showed by a milkman leaving milk or something on somebody's doorstep.
It's the traditional method, isn't it?
Yes, that's how we know. It's the next morning. Kit comes to join Lauren at the hospital again. They've done Joel's post-mortem. It's definitely him, Gemma.
I don't see how you can... No. How did they say... You didn't write this down.
What?
How did they...
Dental records.
Dental records, right? Well, number one, you can fake that. Yes, you can. You just pay off a dentist.
Right.
And two...
Is this going to be the return of Sean's dentist boyfriend?
Yeah, Quentis the dentist.
Quentis the dentist.
And the other thing was, the other way they identified him, was that a family member. He didn't say which family member. So which family member was it? I'm going to assume it was the dad.
Not?
No, he said a family member.
Oh.
That's interesting. That's intriguing. I think it was Gus, right? If Gus is in on it.
So Gus is secretly harbouring Joel, is he?
Not necessarily secretly
and
harbouring
this body
him.
is somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else.
Stop adding to our conspiracy theory, Gemma. You do not believe this.
But listen...
Just because you want Joel to be alive.
I think that Kit also said he saw him himself, which, I'm suspicious of Kit anyway, so...
He's dead.
He's alive.
Stop it. So he also tells Lauren, does Kit, that they've discovered that Joel didn't drown because he hasn't got water in his lungs.
I never understand
He
this.
was hit on the head, so he didn't throw himself into the water. This is a murder investigation.
How did water not get in your lungs?
It was a very watertight bag that he was wrapped up in, clearly. So Kit starts questioning Lauren next, and because she understandably might be a bit of a suspect.
Well, I think it would be sexist not to.
Exactly. She says, "Look, I didn't go out all night. I remember it all day. It was the day of Joel's hearing. I remember it as clear as a bell." And she says, I know that Joel turned up drunk at the cafe that day. He went over... Then I went over to Max's house. Exactly. And she remembers this noise outside, but it went out, she says. And that part of it doesn't get developed anymore this week, does it? We haven't had... I'm sure we're going to have more of a Lauren flashback, because she claims that she spent the night on the sofa in number 8, doesn't she, I think? So it's definitely possible that she could have, and let's face it, she probably did sneak out at some point during the night. But I've still absolutely none the wiser as to who it was sneaking about in the garden of number 8.
But...
Very intrigued about that.
But I think that Nick, because I was confused, because on Friday Nick asks her about the sofa and she kind of brushes it off, and he's saying how uncomfortable it was to sleep on the sofa, and she's like, no, it was fine. Like, she wants everyone to think she slept like a baby on that sofa.
How many nights did she sleep on the sofa? Was it only one? And
I don't know.
Maybe the fact is that she didn't sleep at all, and that was what he was trying to
point
out.
Because he was saying, isn't there a big spring that goes in your back? And she didn't really seem to know what he was talking about.
I mean, it's these things that I could go back and see, but I haven't got the time. I never pay attention to how long somebody's been sleeping on someone else's sofa on Coronation Street, and I suppose that's what they're relying on when they're putting together this intricate puzzle as to what happened on that night.
So somebody was running around in the garden. And
that doesn't tie in at all with what we've since learned about Ronnie and Ed and Dee-Dee, does it? There's no reason for anyone to be there.
So, okay, maybe this throws suspicion on Carla, because the back garden to Gail's house leads to the Nuttall's Brewery and also Underworld.
Yeah.
Underworld would be somewhere that Carla could go after she might have committed a crime.
Possibly, but
Well, who else is around there then? Because the other person I'm thinking is Kit, because Kit was not in at night. At the Rovers,
I think it was
he was
Kit.
out late. But why would he be over there?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me at the moment about why anybody would be out.
Yeah,
why
was somebody at the back of the Platts house? What were they doing?
Well, you've got that little ginnel area down the back of the fence, haven't you? The place where Sam hit that person over the head with the telescope a few years ago. They very, very rarely film down there. So it might make sense that some kind of action took place in there. So it wasn't the garden itself, but the area just behind the garden. Yeah, that's what I mean. Or like you said, the brewery area is really nearby anyway. So I don't know, but they don't take a trip down that particular alley later on. But I'm hoping that they will do next week, because I'm very intrigued as to that.
The other thing I'm just going to say about this is that because this is a soap and not a murder mystery show, normally what happens is somebody's trying to solve the crime, but then it's revealed in some kind of elaborate stunt who it is, and all of this is actually pointless and comes to nothing. I don't imagine there'll be a scene where Lisa Swain gathers everybody at the community centre and says, "Now I know you're wondering why I've gathered you here today. Well, I can tell you that the murderer of Joel Deering is sitting in this room with us right now. And it's me!" That's what you want out of a murder mystery.
Yeah.
The Agatha Christie reveal, which I don't think we're going to get. But if they do it, if they pull it off, I will be very impressed.
I'm still
loving it. It doesn't matter either way. Yeah. I'm just saying that we've done this before. We've gone down this road with Coronation Street many times over the God knows how many years we've been doing this now. And every single time, they must be listening, or if they do listen, going, no, just concentrate on Carla and Lisa kissing next week.
Well, we do know that some of the behind the scenes people and the writers do listen to this. So, and then they've told us that in some of our,
hopefully not
like Who Where's Lauren kind of mystery, we've been told, I listened to you and you were close here and not there. So I'm.
Hopefully not when they're driving, because their eyes will roll back so far in their heads they'll probably crash into a tram in Piccadilly Circus.
That happened today, didn't it? So Kit goes to see David for a bit. We don't get much more out of that apart from the fact that Lauren was apparently asleep on the sofa. Swain's sitting
asleep
outside.
Like this. Who
done it?
Who wasn't me?
Swain sitting outside number 8 watching Kit in the rearview mirror as he leaves the house, and then Betsy comes over and speaks to her because Swain's dropping off her phone or something at the factory. So
why is she so interested?
Well,
I mean, her one of the reasons, apart from that she's the one what done it, is that she's concerned. She's either concerned because she hates Joel. And she wants to be involved in this case and she's been kicked off the case. Or 2, she's worried that Betsy's done it and she doesn't want the clues to lead to Betsy.
Yeah, because this is the scene as well where Betsy comes up to her and Swain tells Betsy Joel's dead. And I can't remember what reaction we got from Betsy. I think she said that she's glad that he's dead, but there wasn't a surprise. We've not seen anybody kind of go, whoa.
I couldn't be a murderer because it's like, when somebody told me the person I killed died, I'd be like, oh, what? No. Really?
Wasn't me.
I was here the whole time. When was it? When were they killed? I mean, that's the question. I want to know. I haven't left the house.
So Monday's episode left with a bit of a cliffhanger because you got the Bailey boys, Ronnie and Ed, meeting up with Dee-Dee in the pub, still talking about this bombshell that's been dropped on them this evening. And when Dee-Dee goes off to the loo, Ed and Ronnie have a bit of a quiet huddle together, and Ed's like, what are we going to do? And Ronnie says, we keep our mouths shut. So that was great. A lovely cliffhanger at the end, where I had never even thought, as I was watching the episode, that Ed and Ronnie could be involved in it. And now it's like, what were they doing?
I know, but they would have been good outside suspects if they hadn't been addressed immediately.
Yeah. I mean, what will usually happen on this kind of whodunit is that they put somebody in the frame and then you spend an episode thinking, oh, maybe it's them, but then you find out that it's not. But, I've still got some suspicions over Ronnie. I don't think that Ed's, he's completely in the clear, but
so
Ronnie is not 100%.
Ronnie would have gone off without him somehow?
Yeah, because... Well, we'll get there because that's Fridays.
That's right.
We'll get there on Fridays. So Wednesday rolls around and you got Swain and Kit in the cafe asking him about the case, and he's like, "Oh, maybe getting me a cup of coffee would lubricate my tongue." So
why doesn't she just? Would this be really unethical and not allowed? Why didn't she just look at his notes?
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Why not?
No sneaking. He's probably password protected, isn't he?
Well, probably you're not supposed to do that, but I bet they do.
I bet they do. So
he
tells her that Joel got whacked on the head. Can't get much further with this, though, because Ronnie comes in wanting to know the details himself. Now, we now know that Ronnie is somewhat implicated in that he went to Joel's flat the night of the murder, so it kind of stands to reason that he'd want to know, what do you know, and is there any chance that this is going to come back to me? So, but he doesn't get anywhere. Kit tells him to bog off, basically. Back to the crime with Swain, Kit tells her that the weapon was something heavy. Interesting that he said, like a crowbar.
I think that means it wasn't a crowbar.
Well,
the fact he said like a crowbar, but not a crowbar, and everyone's running around with a crowbar makes me think...
a little clunky that there are all manner of heavy... blunt implements that probably do the similar kind of damage to a crowbar. So. Well, like a chair leg or a pipe. Yeah, or...
There's only so many things. It couldn't...
Or a really heavy-duty ladle.
No. I know what you're saying, but they will know it's a pole. It's a metal pole. It's like... Well, no, actually, like a crowbar is flat, isn't it? It's a flat, thin piece of heavy metal. So they know it's not round because they've obviously found a mark on his head. And they can see from the mark that there was an edge. So it's not going to be a metal pole. It's not going to be like a stake, like you put a lantern in the ground with.
What about a blowpoke?
No, because that's round. And it's not going to be a poker. Good reference, crime reference. It's not going to be anything that's cylindrical. Is it?
Well, I think that this is like a really poor job from whoever it was that killed Joel. I would have maybe chosen something that was rounded just to make it less obvious what the actual murder weapon was.
He didn't actually say like...
He did, he said like a crowbar.
Yeah, he said like a crowbar, but he didn't explain why it is like a crowbar. He didn't say it was a piece of flat metal with an edge to it, did he?
I think it would be a nice...
I think in real life he would have told her more specific details about the murder weapon than it was like a crowbar.
I think it would have been a nice twist if it turns out that it wasn't actually a crowbar.
I don't think it will be.
It was like a crowbar.
But what's like a crowbar?
I don't know.
That isn't a crowbar.
Nice riddle.
I'm feeling the ravens coming over me, the poem.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Why is a raven like a crowbar?
Why is a raven bar like a crowbar? Anyway, so this is what they reckon the murder weapon is. We've been driven
mad by this already.
Swain says, look, you need to start dredging the river or something. Maybe you'll find it. And he says, look, you leave Katja and the murder to me. You need to sort your life out first, basically.
Well, see, this is what I mean about where he went into the water. Because where he went into the water would be where the crowbar or the weapon would be. Because it's not going to float down the river, is it?
It is not,
So they need to find where's the nearest point from... I know I'm getting really super into this. I love this so much. From under the bridge, where's the nearest access point to a river for somebody who was in a car? To that particular river? Does the river even connect? Did they drive to a completely different place? We've got no idea where these kids were when they found this body. It could be miles away. Could be in Flint.
This definitely has shades of Stephen burying... Well... plopping Teddy. Was it Teddy? Yeah, it was Teddy in the canal last year, doesn't it? I don't know where. We haven't found the place yet where this river scene was filmed.
No, they don't want us to recreate it.
Maybe that's a bad idea. I would like to know if anybody knows.
If it became traditional, this time every year all the Corrie fans to get together and throw bodies wrapped in plastic in the river, and it's becoming a real problem. It goes completely against the ethos of recycling.
Anyway, doctor's telling Lauren, meanwhile, at the hospital that Frankie's back on track, hurrah, and she'll probably be able to take him to a foster home in November. I found this part of the story, because I've put all of the stuff with Lauren and Max and Bobby in this story as well, because I guess it's tangentially related, but I wasn't fussed by it whatsoever, because it wasn't directly related to the whodunit.
Yes, but she's reluctant about this, and she said it's because she is worried that she's not going to be able to look after him, which is fair enough. But is she worried that she might not be around for him to be to hang around with, because babies hang around because she'll be arrested for killing Joel?
Maybe.
I don't think so, but I thought
we'll get back to them later. Swain goes to speed dial later and asks Yasmeen about Mason. He's a suspect, just by virtue of being a dodgy guy. what did you make of him? And Yaz says, look, yeah, he's had his troubles, including his brothers, who we got to see Logan for another scene in today's episode. Another wordless scene. He'll get his first line eventually, I'm sure, but it wasn't related to this story. Anyway, Yaz also tells Swain about the smashed window last week, the burglary, and the fact that Mason was found with a crowbar in his bag. Ooh, thinks Swain, that's quite coincidental, because I just heard that
it's
crowbar
like
might
a
have been
crowbar.
used to whack Joel on the head. So Dee-Dee next is meeting Adam in the bistro and says, look, I've been knackered recently. I've not been able to sleep properly. Adam says, if Kit hears that, he's going to put it down to a guilty conscience. So Swain, meanwhile, is going to the police station telling Kit that he needs to speak to Mason. Tells him about the crowbar that Stu found in his bag last week and the fact that he slept in speed dial on the night of the attack alone. And I'd completely forgotten about this, and none of our theorising and where's Joel clue hunting that we've been doing on the podcast recently, I don't think even brought this up. But this is absolutely right, and I found a great article on the Metro after Monday's episode that I read through with some of the clues here. And there was that scene where Mason is bringing his sleeping bag or what have you down into speed dial, and then at the very end of the scene there is a split second where he looks up at the top of the stairs, and I'd completely forgotten about that. And I going to bed on Monday night, I was thinking, oh yeah, what was that? But we do find out what it was, and it seems to possibly rule Mason out as a suspect completely at this point. Maybe. Bobby, he's back. When was the last time we saw Bobby? Jolly long time ago. But he's back, and he's still got the hots for Lauren this week.
I was very pleased to see him back because I was getting worried about where he'd gone.
Were you really worried?
I was, because I felt bad. Because I've been criticising him and everything, and I wouldn't want him to be not in the show anymore because fans didn't like the character, because I don't think he's been given a proper chance, because I think that the storylines and the writing hasn't been very good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the story needed him.
No, and when he came in again, I was thinking
he did have a few zingers in his script tonight, didn't he? I didn't mind actually the line where he said, "Has somebody died?" when Max was talking about the problem at the salon.
Oh no, I hated it.
line. No, I didn't think that was the worst line that Bobby said. But anyway, he's there in the hospital with them on Wednesday's episode, and he gets talking to Lauren alone, and she's like saying, "Oh, I'm really nervous. It's going to be me and Frankie next month. What am I going to do?" And I think Bobby eventually just makes her see that it's probably going to be okay, and she's grateful for his support. Meanwhile, you got Swain going to the factory. Betsy is not exactly thrilled to see her mum turning up, and Swain says, look, you need to keep your distance from Mason. She can't say why. She's like, well, I'm a police officer. I can't tell you why you need to stay away from Mason. Join the dots, love. And Betsy's like, open an investigation. She's like, yeah, I just don't want Mason to hurt you. I know what he's capable of. So Betsy then finds Mason coming out of speed dial later, and he tells her that he's quit. This is all, related to the Stu storyline as well, which we'll get to later. And she starts grilling him about why he might be under investigation. And he's in as much of the dark as she is here. He kind of knows that he almost did a bit of crime the other week. His brother tried to get him to rob that place with him, and that's what the crowbar was for. So he's kind of thinking at the moment, are they onto me about this? I'd better get rid of this crowbar. So he heads at the back of the factory, chucks it in one of the bins there. Again, probably not the most sensible place to put it. I'd probably travel a bit further afield, but never mind. It was useful for the plot because Kit has been following him, and he sees Mason chucking the crowbar in the bin and's like, well, you better come down the station with me because I think we need to ask you a few questions about where you were on the night of Joel's murder.
Yeah.
So at the station, Mason's being questioned, saying, look, I just didn't want the crowbar anymore. That's why I was throwing it away.
Yeah, what do you know? Why do you normally throw things away?
Well, I mean, you never know when a crowbar is going to come in useful, do you? If
you're doing a crime. I can't think of any other reason.
And Kit's like, I'm not really sure I believe you there. He says, well, we believe that a weapon that was used to kill Joel was a crowbar, and Mason at this point kind of realises just how deep he could be in this. So Kit says, well, we're testing the crowbar for traces of Joel's DNA. Mason was like, I was at speed dial, I was on my own that evening, no alibis sadly, but want me, governor, I promise. And Kit says, well, I think that maybe because you've been quite close to Betsy, haven't you? Maybe you wanted to give Joel a good hiding. Mason's like, no, look, Betsy doesn't mean anything to me. I swear I didn't kill him. And this is where we get the first flashback. So it's Mason. He's in speed dial. It's that scene I was talking about earlier. He's got a black eye. Because when I kind of read about this on Monday, then I thought, oh, yeah, Mason's black eye. He said it was his brother that gave it to him. Could he actually have been involved in Joel's murder? And could he have got a black eye in some kind of fracas with Joel? And I mean, how convinced are you at this point that Mason is completely in the clear?
Why? What's his motive? Just because of Betsy?
Just because of
Betsy? He and
Betsy.
Betsy are always arguing with each other, though.
Yeah, but he still has been close to her. I mean, he's not like completely cut her out of his life. Do you think that the evidence that we've had, you know, do you think that the flashback has been enough to prove that he didn't do it? Because basically in the flashback we find out it's Betsy coming downstairs. She's absolutely terrified, she says, about Joel coming after her. She's streaming with tears. He hugs her and says, look, I'm not gonna let this happen. Joel's not gonna go after you. As far as we know, he could have then gone off to find Joel, I suppose.
I think it's fair to say that every single flashback we've seen so far doesn't absolve anybody of doing it.
No, there's definitely a bit of unreliable narrator in there.
Well, it's not even that. It doesn't end in a conclusive way, does it? It's like...
It's told us a bit.
It told us a bit more, it established a little bit more about why they might be a suspect, rather than saying they're not a suspect. So, they both could have then gone off and killed him together.
Or Betsy could have come from killing Joel.
And pretending
the reason why she's so shaken up is just because she's worried about Joel coming after her. And I don't believe a word that comes out of Betsy's mouth, to be quite frank with you. So, yeah, I think probably Mason is not high at all on my list of suspects. I kind of don't want it to be him, but it's been weird how they've been trying to rehabilitate him somewhat into the street since the bullying storyline, because he was definitely, 100% pure villain in the school bullying storyline, wasn't he? And I was wondering, well, why have they brought him back to the street? Why are they having him kind of ingratiate himself to Stu and to some measure Yasmeen? That doesn't seem, we don't have soap restorative justice. We have soap, if you've been a bad guy, you probably end up dead or in prison. But maybe this is part of Mason's exit storyline and it is going to turn out to be him.
Yeah.
But if it is him, then it's a bit underwhelming, because it's so Ian McLeod. One of the problems that we had with the Stephen Reed story was the victims were all nobodies. And I think if in this story you've got, Joel isn't completely a nobody, but he's kind of a nobody because he was only in the show a year. Same with Mason, characters that were brought in solely to be involved in a murder mystery. It's a shame. I'd rather it was somebody with some kind of established history on the street.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the end of that first flashback. Then we have a few scenes with Max and Lauren and Bobby in the pub, and Max is a bit suspicious about Bobby's motives towards Lauren, and Bobby's like, yeah, I still want to get in her pants, basically. He's probably loving the fact that winter's coming up and he's going to be able to use the whole just turn the heating down ruse on her again that he tried last January or whatever it was. So Kit finds Swain later on, and he tells her about Mason's interview and the crowbar, and this has already by this point been confirmed not to have any of Joel's blood in it. So I suppose that's one point. It basically
just means he cleaned it.
Yeah, it means that he might have cleaned it, but I don't know how. A crowbar's got kind of rough edge. Is it at all porous? Not enough.
Depends on what it's made of, and depends on how rusty it is.
Yeah, exactly.
if you had taken a rusty crowbar and then beaten somebody to death with it and then cleaned it would look clean.
Yeah.
It would look like somebody'd rubbed rust off of this specific area, and that would be suspicious in itself, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But I think it is certainly possible to try and clean a murder weapon like a crowbar and accidentally leave some blood trace
but it's
on
also
there.
very possible, surely, to clean it and get it all off.
Get it all off, yeah.
I mean, what would you need to clean it with? I'm not going to Google it because I'm already on a list for looking them up on Amazon and saying I was going to murder somebody on a podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know. It seems, again, this is more evidence that Mason's in the clear here. But anyway.
I think we should actually commit a crime just to get the listener count up, because the police will have to listen to this.
Oh, yeah.
That gets the numbers going up, doesn't it? And we'll probably get in the papers. That's advertising. I'm all for free advertising now. I've got a sniff of it.
So Mason and Betsy meet in the precinct later, and he tells her what's been going on. And he also says, I can't see you anymore. It's too risky for us to be seen together.
Yeah. Why? They've just seen my flashback. I can't be with you anymore.
I don't think that they've got a little secret together. Although they could. I think it could be an interesting twist if it was two characters who done it.
And they didn't.
Because it's very rarely that, isn't it?
No.
When it's a who done it, it turns out to be it's this person. But if they revealed it was this person, but person B was also involved, that'd be quite good.
Well, it could be any combination. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
They all did it.
Well, yeah.
Bit of a Orient Express situation,
Don't spoil
maybe.
It could be that Mason and Dee-Dee did it. It could be Mason and, Ronnie. It could be anything.
I think that would be quite cool if it was more than one.
But, just to point out again, whoever's done it, although Corey's got a bad track record with this now, used to be whoever had done it would definitely be out of the show. Whether they were killed by some fight in the revelation that they were the killer,
Yeah, they get arrested,
or they'd be arrested. But, we've still got Gary who killed, what's his face, Rick
Rana. You got Toya still running free on the loose with blood on her hands.
Yeah, so if, say, for example, Dee-Dee did it, if she could prove that she was, she had a fight with him, then she'd get away with it. And the same for Swain, because Swain's got this mysterious rib injury, hasn't she?
Yeah, you got Swain's pain.
Yeah, so if she did it, the worst thing that could happen probably is she'd be kicked off the force, because you can't just go around fighting people and not mention it when they turn up dead. But she could still get away with it if she could prove
if
that
there was
she
a self-defense element to it.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Again, come to the suspects again later, even though we've already touched on it somewhat.
I'm going to say, I think it would be more likely whoever did it gets away with staying in the show afterwards if they're a woman.
You reckon? Yeah, no, you're probably right. If it is seen as it was
self-defense, I mean, Kit. Nobody.
Or if the audience can be persuaded that actually
that's really it. It's okay.
It was okay to kill Joel in this situation.
Yeah, I don't think Kit would go away with it, because I think Kit would no one would believe that Kit was scared for his life against Joel or anybody. Literally anyone on the show. He could just whack you on the head with his fist and you'd be hammered into the floor.
Right, okay, what we got? Pub scene later, you got Dee-Dee, Swain there in the pub. Betsy's marching in, having a go at her mum for hauling Mason in for questioning, and then she storms off again, Swain following in hot pursuit. And Ronnie comes and sits down next to Dee-Dee saying, look, what's this I heard about a crowbar? Dee-Dee says, well, this is what the police reckon was used to kill Joel, and then Ronnie gets a flashback. And this is, I love this, because that little conversation that Ronnie and Ed had at the end of Monday's episode really got me quite excited that the Bailey boys would get involved here. And we hardly see anything from this flashback, do we? It's basically somebody shuffling around in, I think, the builder's yard it was, to try and find what ends up turning out to be a crowbar. And that's literally all it is. We know that Ronnie had a crowbar, and that was the cliffhanger that we were left with at the end of Wednesday's episode.
So Wednesday was the beginning of the flashbacks.
Yeah.
And
we only had two.
We had were Ronnie and Mason,
yeah.
Right? But then Ronnie has another flashback on Friday, so we're not being limited to one flashback per, or one or two,
No, I think we got 3 in tonight's episode.
But listen, what I'm saying is, characters don't just have one flashback episode. Ronnie's went over 2 episodes. He had more than one flashback.
Yeah.
So far, they are in chronological order, and I don't know whether that will continue or not.
Well, not necessarily. We don't know whether the Mason one happened.
No. I mean, Ronnie's finds the crowbar, then he has the crowbar.
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna. Are we gonna have, before he finds the crowbar? I don't think so.
That would be cool.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting together.
Trying to put it together.
Information.
So, see what the I hope that there's some kind of compilation of flashbacks. When the reveal happens, there's going to be one long flashback. When I can foresee, if not a whole episode in flashback, at least a quarter of an hour of an episode of flashback when it's saying what's happening. I hope so. Anyway, maybe interspersed with some of the previous flashbacks, kind of linking them all together somehow, maybe.
Ooh.
So Friday then, it's Ronnie's 55th birthday. Happy birthday to you. This episode was made all the better by Debbie taking centre stage. And in fact, I'm going to say that I enjoyed not having... I don't think we had Lauren in today's episode, did we? Didn't have Carla, we didn't have Lisa, and I think that those characters have been, for me, a little bit too much in the forefront of Corrie recently. Not that I don't love them, but I appreciated that we got a bit of a breather from them, because my interest going into today's episode was how are the Baileys involved in this, and we got that. So Debbie's been planning a surprise party for Ronnie, which is the only kind of party in Coronation Street, it seems. He's already rumbled her because he's looked on her laptop. And then Kit comes over to the Bailey boys.
Turnabout's fair play later on.
Well, yeah. Kit comes over to the Bailey boys saying, look, I need you some help with some inquiries. Let's go for a chat in Roy's. Ronnie tells the cops, I was alone in my flat all night. They're satisfied with that answer. Then go and see Dee-Dee and Michael. But then when Ed comes over to him, they have some more quiet words. We learn that they've been out doing something that night. So Kit's spoken with
gambling.
Dee-Dee. Well, maybe. Kit's been speaking to Dee-Dee and Michael later. Dee-Dee is beside herself with worry. She's trying to hold it together here. She's clearly very peeved about being questioned like she's a suspect, because she definitely is a suspect at this point. She just doesn't want them to know everything about what happened. And then we also see Debbie pulling up in the car next to them, about to drive off somewhere. She's turned on the sat nav and she notices an address in there that turns out to be Joel's, and she's like, oh, what were you doing going to Joel's? Then we get our first flashback of today's episode, which is Ed and Ronnie late at night. Ronnie's got a crowbar in his hand, or was it Ed? I can't remember. And they're heading towards Joel's flat. Now, I was kind of wondering, was this filmed outside or is this part of the green screen? Because when we saw Joel's suicide note scene, if you like, a couple of weeks ago, then it was revealed online, hey, we did this all with green screen. A lot of people were saying, well, why would you do that in green screen? But maybe it makes sense that all of this was in green screen. So that particular scene perhaps didn't need it, But then was it filmed outside? I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. Sometimes the volume wall is very, very obvious. But I said to you, I wonder if we can find out where that scene with Joel's flat is filmed, because the
sign was very obvious.
Sign was very...
They wouldn't have
painted a whole new sign and hung it up on the side of the building.
But they also don't generally show road names that are real.
No, they don't. Exactly.
So I think it's...
But it was a good fake, and the ground certainly looked very real. I suppose, if you're going to use special effects, then make it so that I can't tell, and to make me question it.
While we're on the subject, can I just give my gripe?
You got a gripe?
I've got a gripe, right?
Oh, no.
My gripe is that at the moment, somebody's decided to put steam coming out of pots in the bistro and speed dial kitchens.
They have. I've noticed
and it's really annoying me because it doesn't look real. It looks really cheesy and weird. It looks like a panto. Sometimes in speed dial it looks like smoke or like from a smoke machine, or like as candle, or like a cigarette or something. And then today in in the bistro when Nick's in the kitchen, there's just smoke wafting about, and
What's that got to do with this scene? Was there some fake
I've got a
smoke
gripe.
here?
You said it's fake. You said you don't make
okay.
me see when things are fake. It just looks. They've never bothered to do it before. I've never seen this. I mean, there's always it's all fake.
Yeah.
But why go to the trouble of having smoke coming out of
Maybe
pots?
it's like, well, we bought some fake smoke for Hope's vape setting the cabinet on fire. Might as well get some good use out of it.
When you have bright red plastic peppers on the side, which don't look real.
Right. After the break, you got Ronnie's response to Debbie about why is Joel's address in your sat-nav, and he said it was from ages ago when he and Michael helped Joel move the cabinet, and Dee-Dee is very suspicious about this still, obviously because she knows the truth. Debbie is somewhat appeased for now. So, at the party later at the bistro, Debbie kind of sidles up to Michael and says, "Oh, I can't believe you managed to get that cabinet in Ronnie's little car." And Michael's like, "Oh, hang on a minute. We didn't use Ronnie's car when we went to get it. We used mine." And Debbie's like, so I have been lied to here. And I was like, this is very exciting. What's been going on here then? And over dinner, like brazenly in the middle of dinner, Debbie starts quizzing Ronnie about what was going on in Joel's flat. Michael says that you didn't use your car. Why is Joel's address in your sat nav? And he kind of buys time a little bit by giving a big birthday speech about how much he appreciates everybody there and stuff. And then he goes up to the bar to get drinks. Then we get a just so we can have a bit of time to get a flashback that we find out first. And it's Ed and Ronnie going into Joel's flat. Ed's like, really, I don't want to be here. This is wrong. Ronnie's definitely taken the lead in this break-in. That it looked like, I can't remember whether they said it outright. They later say that they wanted to haul Joel out of his flat and take him to the police station, didn't they? Did you believe that, or did you think that Ronnie would have actually given him a bit of a bludgeoning?
Yeah, because the day that he went missing, he was supposed to be at the hearing and he didn't turn up. Mm-hmm. So that does track that they were thinking, well, he's obviously in his flat, we'll go and get him and make sure that he faces justice.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that Ronnie is a violent sort. Well, I know he'd had that scene a few weeks ago and he pushed Joel up against the wall in the precinct in Scally's Alley, but I do not believe that Ronnie would say, I'm going to knock 7 bells out of Joel and hope to get away with it. It doesn't sit right. It doesn't fit with his character in my view.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with you because of that scene.
But there's a difference between I'm going to push you against the wall and I'm going to whack you round the head with a blunt instrument.
Right. First of all, to be clear, I don't think it's Ronnie. But I will, in the scene where he pushes Joel against the wall, the only reason he doesn't do anything else is because it's in broad daylight. It's not because he decides. Audience, hasn't he? It's not because he comes to his senses and realises he's doing the wrong thing. It's because Joel starts appealing for help to people that are walking about.
I think that,
and that's going to come up,
That will 100% come up. Ronnie is full of muscles, but I think that it's not to use against people.
I think your skull with his bicep.
I think it's to use as a threat more than actually I'm gonna.
Well, I think it's probably maybe just likes fitness.
Yeah, exactly. With the added bonus that he can be. Everybody who has big muscles
is like, this is just a threat, just so you know.
No, I know.
I don't even need a crowbar.
It can be used as you watch it because look how ripped I am. But I don't think he would have done anything with Joel. I really don't. Anyway, so Ed is now telling Dee-Dee at the bistro what happened whilst Ronnie is recounting the story to Debbie. And I quite liked how they directed that, which was like one of them asks a question and then at the bar someone else answers the same question. That was quite cleverly done. But basically they say, we went there. We went to Joel's. We were going to drag him up to the cop shop, but he wasn't there. And then we went home. And Debbie's like, this is ridiculous. Why have you done this? You've implicated yourselves now. I'm pretty annoyed that you didn't tell me about this, Ronnie, straight away. I thought we were a partnership. And Dee-Dee is also like really peeved about this. It's time for the bill later.
Well, they didn't know he was going to get murdered.
No, exactly. Bill time later, they're just trying to decide who's going to pay. Ronnie is saying, I'll pay, blah, 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 blah. Dee-Dee is just very quiet at this point. She's saying she's got a headache and wants to go home. And the brothers are saying, look, we've told you everything now. Even, like, you can see that Ed's a little suspicious of Ronnie because what was it he said? Like, we went home and we stayed home afterwards. Right, Ronnie? And Ronnie's like, oh, why are you confirming with me? You know that we did. So I think that Ed is definitely, there may be a time in the future where he has to swear that he knows that Ronnie was at home, and I think he might end up
they weren't
accidentally
there together. They didn't go back home together.
I think if Ed were to be asked, are you
but they can't,
sure without any doubt that you're...
Then why would anyone ever ask him this? Because he can't be his alibi because they weren't in the same place.
Yeah. No, they weren't in the same place, but I think he might end up voicing his doubts.
Yeah, he will
at some point,
probably,
which would be cool. I love how Ed is involved in this. Like, this is probably the most exciting thing that Ed has ever done. I don't think that's a stretch to say that, do you?
He got nearly caught on fire once.
Well, the fire earlier this year. That was quite good. He's just been involved. He's just been very low key and in low stakes stories up until this point. And Ed, as well as all of the other Baileys, have been not involved in anybody else's business. And this isn't a Bailey story.
This is pretty high stakes business to be involved in.
This isn't a Bailey story, but he's still in the midst of the action.
Well, it kind of is a Bailey story. It would have been Joel Bailey, wouldn't it?
Well, it could have been if he decided to be very modern about it. So yeah, I'm really, really thrilled for Ed, for Trevor Michael George, that they've put him as a main player in this story, as having been a side character for, gosh, how long has he been on the street for? 5 years.
And I do like this. These two patriarchs defending the daughter of the family against a villain.
Yeah, I do. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. So Ed goes up to the shop flat later to see Dee-Dee. She's crying her eyes out. You can tell she's having a massive panic attack.
She's up to something.
Totally up to something. She's saying, I've got a headache. But then he says, look, I swear I'm telling the truth now. I'm really sorry about...
When he goes in, to talk to her.
Really sorry about what I said earlier and not being honest before, but this is what happened. Then it's Dee-Dee's flashback. And I was like, yes, at last, because we've been seeing these funny looks from Dee-Dee ever since it happened. Even like... She was wasn't she the first scene on the episode after Joel's disappearance when she comes in the flat?
Yeah, she's all woozy.
She goes to the sink, and as the water swirls down the sink, she has a little moment, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she's clearly remembering, well, what we see later on. The first flashback is we see a crowbar being kind of dragged across the cars near where Joel is, and then the camera unfades. That was a little cheesily done because it was... I mean, I don't know why it was like, aha, it's Dee-Dee, when... It clearly was Dee-Dee because it was Dee-Dee's flashback, but never mind. She goes over to his car, raises the crowbar as if to whack it, and then is surprised to find that Joel's in there. So I don't think she's killed Joel, but I don't think she went out intending to kill Joel. It just looks a little bit like she was going to smash up his car.
It does look like she was going to vandalise his car to get revenge, but he was in it.
Yeah.
And so he's got, I don't know if this was just for the purposes of film, but the light was on in his car, or his face was illuminated so you could see him better, but was he recording his goodbye message while he was disturbed? Because when we see him do his message, he's got this wound on his cheek. And
yeah, this 100% happened before that message was recorded.
Yes. So what happened then? Did she attack him with this crowbar, or did they have a fight and the crowbar hit him in the face? And is that why the police think he was killed with a crowbar? Because there's this wound on his cheek that came from the crowbar.
I think that they said there was another head wound that would have finished him off. Because a little scratch on the cheek with a crowbar. I don't know. No, that wouldn't have killed him.
Well,
that wouldn't have killed him. And we saw that he was recording the message and he was kind of fine.
I know, but...
Even though they had this massive gash on the side of his face.
I know, but you don't know how competent the Weatherfield autopsy team are.
Well, if they're anything like everybody else on the force,
don't know what they're doing.
No, exactly. So
it's like, I think he died of being choked to death by Weetabix. No, you've just dropped that in there because I told you to stop eating it while we're doing the autopsy.
So piecing this together so far, you've got Ronnie and Ed went out to go and rough up Joel. They then go home. Dee-Dee hears them arguing about it, which she says to Ed later, or she says that this is what happened. It wouldn't surprise me if she didn't just, follow them.
Did she hear them arguing about going or coming?
No, I think it was about coming back. She says that she heard them.
So she heard them, and then did she go afterwards?
I think so.
Right,
But
so
if she went with them, then maybe.
So the interesting, I mean, again, the incompetence of the Weatherfield Police Department here is that Joel's sitting outside his flat in his car with his face lit up, and the police haven't gone to find him, even though he's absconded from a hearing and he's a violent criminal who's tried to kill, a baby, and he's on the loose. And there was no stakeout. Nobody went to his flat to find whether he's there or not.
They're very underfunded, the Weatherfield
They
Police
do
Department.
seem to be.
Well, they've only got about 3 coppers working for them, haven't they? They've got Swain, Kit and Boss Stella.
And I think they're paying Swain
and
too
Tiggs,
much.
of course, but...
She's spending it all on coats.
They probably don't even pay Craig in... They probably just pay him in biscuits, don't
that's
they?
why he was helping himself, and he got upset when they were telling him off with it and getting cookies out of the jar. It's like, this is my wages. I'm allowed a cookie.
It's Friday.
Right, so...
So Dee-Dee has gone to Joel's flat, found him in the car... and she must have had some kind of confrontation with him. That scratch in Joel's face has got to have been caused by Dee-Dee.
I don't know.
I think so.
No, I don't know. Why do you think? What? Just because the next time you see him?
Yeah, because we know that when he recorded
The
message.
message.
Do we?
What do
Well,
we
when
know?
he recorded the message, where was his car? Was it
we
in the
don't know.
place where we saw him sitting in the car, or was it by the viaduct? Because whatever happened between him and Dee-Dee, he then, or his car, was at the viaduct.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that he was well enough after the confrontation that he could park the car, and he must have had some kind of scheme, because he had that second car in the field, didn't he?
Let's be clear. If Dee-Dee is in fact the perpetrator here, this flashback was not when she killed him. Because we see him alive after with something on his cheek, and he's still alive.
Yeah.
Right, so unless she's in the car with him, making him record it to make it look like she didn't kill him, and he's left her a message as a suicide note, which would be really clever. She's gone away, and then maybe come back later. Now,
I think that
that doesn't really make sense. It's a bit too
Dee-Dee's other
convoluted.
actions, apart from the fact that she's been looking a bit dodgy, and now we know why, everything else that has happened doesn't lead me to think that she's bumped him off. Like when on the Monday episode, when she goes and finds his car in the field, that was genuine. Oh, I've just found his car. She didn't know it was there.
She found clues that she would have not needed if she'd known that was there, because she killed him.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that she's 100% innocent.
No, I don't think she did.
She did not, and that they wouldn't have a main character, as beloved as Dee-Dee do this anyway. I
think they should do. I think they should take more risks.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
should. But I don't think that she did. It's also, I mean, I'm going to say it's not in her character. She's not a violent person.
Well, I'm surprised she went to go and smack his car up.
Yeah, that's what I think.
When we saw it, I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Dee-Dee wouldn't do this.
Dee-Dee brandishing a crowbar is the most out of character thing I can imagine her doing.
But so the question I have is, we watched Joel's recording again this evening before we recorded, and there's not really much you can glean from it, even knowing that perhaps he had an encounter with Dee-Dee, and he said something like,
So he says something about sometimes you hurt the people you love.
Yes, exactly. So is that a reference to the fact that she's hurt his cheek? Because that is quite a vicious wound on someone's face, which is very violent. I don't think many women would attack somebody's face like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think that women generally would sort of hit your body, and women don't generally try to hurt. Like when they're beating, even it's like
more defense,
because we think we're weak, and so you think, oh, I can hit. This is what I hear a lot from male victims of domestic violence, is that the women seem to think that they're not hurting them. I'm just.
I think
so,
that.
So is he doing this speech? All along he's planning to fake his suicide. Do we still agree that that's the case?
I don't know whether it's an all along thing. So he had some kind of plan, didn't he? Because he went to Roy's pretending to be drunk. He was giving all this money away. He was saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, woe is me."
He's given money to his dad to rent this flat. He's put a note in the car. He's left a
he was
message.
scheming something, but then Dee-Dee comes and finds him in his car outside his flat. They have some kind of confrontation. She gets hurt, for sure, which you find out in the next flashback that comes in at the end of the episode. He's clearly hurt in it. And does he just then take advantage of the situation to say... Because it's basically, I'm sorry, sometimes you hurt the people you love. Maybe there's one more thing that I can do to make this better for you. So he's clearly threatening to off himself in that voice recording that he left.
But too many things have been set up by him to make this a spur of the moment.
It's quite apart from the fact that he dies for real at the end of it. It seems like Dee-Dee confronting him was quite handy for him.
But how would it have been handy for him?
It gives him a reason to say, well, I'm going to end my life because, I've hurt you and I didn't mean to, and maybe this is just going to make it right with you. Because she's had a confrontation with him and clearly words have been exchanged, and yeah.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know. But basically, Joel had been planning to fake a suicide all along.
Yeah.
And this, whatever happened between him and Dee-Dee that we've seen so far, didn't change his plan.
No.
And we still don't know whether Dee-Dee is responsible for the wound on his cheek, but you think she is.
I think for sure.
I don't think so.
Interesting. This is good. Because one of us is going to be proven right, one's going to be wrong.
And also, the other thing I just want to say too is that Dee-Dee is crying, and I wonder why she's crying. Because the obvious thing is that she's sad because Joel's dead, and she's, but is she also worried that something will come out that will jeopardise her career? Or her future?
I think 100% she's upset because she knows she's embroiled in it. She knows she's kept quiet about it. She's terrified that the truth is going to come out. So here's the question: is she going to get away with what we have seen her actually do, which is to try to attack? I wonder whether Dee-Dee is regretting at the moment staying quiet because, it's easy for us to say I've never been embroiled in this kind of thing and never been accused of murder. But it's easy to say, well, if you are completely innocent of murder, maybe if you did something else, like you smashed up his car a little bit, maybe you should say that.
No,
because if you're going to found out that you were lying about anything, then you're going to be suspect number one.
I know, but really, you wouldn't say anything because if as soon as the police find out, if the police could watch any of these flashbacks, they would immediately suspect any of them. Yeah. Wouldn't they?
Yeah. Anyway, we've been on this bit of it too long, but this was quite a key part of the episode. So this is when Dee-Dee, back to the present, admits to Ed... I hope
we're not missing something obvious.
I hope not. Dee-Dee admits to Ed that she heard him and Ronnie arguing about going to Joel's flat, and she's known since then. That's why she's been kind of out of sorts. She doesn't tell Ed that she went there herself, though, so that's still a secret.
Very weird that she's done this.
So, Ed goes and fills Ronnie and Debbie in on what Dee-Dee said, and he gets Michael to sit down with him so he can tell him too. Ed just wants everybody, in the family at least, to know the truth now, because Ed is, as honest as the day is long. On the whole, I mean, he stole his family's Christmas presents last year, but I'm going to say that
it pains him.
Ed has got an honest soul. He is a good chap.
I just love
He's one of the most honourable people on the street. He just gets himself in kind of difficult scrapes and situations, and he's got a bit of a gambling problem.
I just love the way on a soap, the measure of whether you're a good character is not whether you do good or bad things, it's whether you're sad when you do a bad thing,
and
which is inevitable.
Ed totally is. I like Ed. I think he's great. But anyway, so Michael's kind of panicking at this because, well, understandably, he thought that he had nothing to do with it, and now he realises that he's keeping people's secrets, or he has been inadvertently not telling the truth because he said, well, I've told the police that you and Uncle Ronnie were at home all night, so
I would not want to be
they're just saying,
involved in lies.
Don't worry about it, it's fine.
Don't tell me your secrets.
Yeah. Michael goes and sees Dee-Dee, and she's like, "How are you so calm about this? This is nuts. What we've got ourselves in the middle of." And she says, "I'm not, but we've got to keep this quiet for the sake of the family," or something along those lines. Anyway, so he heads back home.
Oh, Michael's the best Bailey there is.
He's
He hasn't done anything.
The Baileys are, they've been raised up right, haven't they? They're a good family.
Michael. 3 members of that family that are so upstanding were wandering Weatherfield with crowbars the night of a murder. What are you talking about?
Right, flashback at the end of the episode, and this is Dee-Dee coming back to her flat, sobbing, going straight to the sink. Well, that explains that then, doesn't it? The sink wooziness on the day after the disappearance. But she's washing, fervently washing a crowbar and blood off her hands, and I think... And we only saw this scene once, actually. We didn't rewind this. It feels like she's got a cut on her hand. So some of the blood that she's washing off is from her. So there might be some of Joel's blood. It might be some of her blood.
Is that it's all her blood.
Yeah.
That's my argument. I think what happened was he kind of confronts her. I think maybe they wrestle with the crowbar and she cuts her hand as he's trying to grab it off her.
I think that they wrestle with the crowbar and his face gets cut in the fracas.
But then it doesn't
and
count.
Then she also...
It's not her that did it then.
Well, no, yeah. I think okay. Well, however, I think that the cut on his cheek was caused by an altercation between the two of them, and she also gets hurt in the process as well. Goes home, washes it off, and she's terrified. I don't think that she thinks that she killed him, because she didn't. She clearly didn't. Maybe I'll be eating my words in a month's time. I don't know, but yeah, she's worried that she's going to be implicated and they're not going to find who the actual killer is. I mean, literally, she's seen her friend Roy be sent to jail earlier this year when there wasn't even a body when he was innocent.
Yeah,
now they've got a body and there's quite strong evidence against her. I'd be worried too if I was her.
Yeah. But where's the crowbar?
Well, quite. Where is the crowbar? Who knows?
Where'd she put it?
Yeah.
And why did she have one? Where'd she get it from?
Well, I think that I think that what she said was maybe right, that she heard Ed and Ronnie get back to number 3, and then she snuck out with the crowbar. Yeah, definitely a different crowbar to Mason's crowbar, probably.
Right. Okay.
I mean, if it was all the same crowbar, that would be
weird.
Quite a game of pass the
crowbar, which is not something we play in this
favourite
country
at parties anymore. Everywhere. So there we go. That's where we're up to here.
Yeah, so exciting. What's happening?
Yeah. So who done it?
Nobody's found out that Lauren and Dee-Dee had this tracker yet. That could still come up.
Haven't they?
Nobody's found out that they've got it.
Okay.
Have they? I don't think so.
No.
So they've
and
not
the tracker
found...
wasn't working on the day of Joel's murder, which would explain why Dee-Dee was surprised to find Joel in the car.
Yeah, but they didn't find... Did they not find Joel's phone? Because the tracker's installed on his phone. They should know that he had a tracking device on his phone.
They found his laptop, didn't they? So
they found all of his text messages on his... Hey, he's not dead. He's got his phone with him.
Yeah, so I don't think they've recovered his phone yet. I mean, so somebody's maybe got that. Somebody's got the crowbar. Is it just like under the sink in the corner shop flat? I don't know. But who... Yeah,
who are they going to... Are they going to start searching places for this crowbar? How much evidence do you... You can't just say, I suspect everybody in this show, so I'm going to look in everyone's house for a crowbar. You have to have a
motive.
Warrant,
yes. So let's run down our list of suspects.
This is too many people.
There's a lot of people, and some of them have avoided suspicion so far.
And I'm just gonna say, like, as in any murder mystery, there are two layers of clues, right? There's the clues that are in the show, and there's the clues that are part of how you tell a story and how a soap works.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not going to be it's more likely to be a minor character, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of how soaps work. It's...
Oh, I see, yeah.
It's not going to be Ken. You know, Ken's not... You know what I'm saying? I don't know that we know the the contract status of any of these people. I don't think it's going to be Lisa Swain because she's just been made a regular character.
Yeah, but she could. I think it would still make sense to say, well, it's just a temporary regular character.
But that would
we want
be
to make
a
you a regular
layer
character
of-
because we want to have a police story that's going to involve an awful lot of a police detective. But I think
that
the
would
fact.
involve a lot of go on.
I think the fact that she's currently getting involved into this whole relationship with Carla's story, which we didn't see any of this week, unless it's a case of, these two have just discovered each other and aren't they a lovely couple, but oh shucks, one of them's a murderer and has now been thrown in jail for 15 years.
I think it would be a huge tactical mistake for Coronation Street to make Lisa Swain a part of one of Coronation Street's hottest new couples for, I'd say, a decade.
Yeah.
As far as online hype goes, and then turn her into a murderer. And so for that reason, I don't think it's Lisa, and I don't think it's Dee-Dee, because Dee-Dee's such a popular character.
Dee-Dee's a popular character. I don't think she's got it in her.
I know, but I'm talking about literally technical, like, non-story reasons.
Yeah, for behind the scenes reasons.
Yeah.
It would be crazy.
So let's go through in.
Look, well, do we go with who we most think it is first?
Well, who do you think it most is?
Well, it seems like it's very, very obviously Kit.
Yeah, I think it's Kit.
But
I love him.
Sometimes in these kind of things, if you predict rightly, you go, I got it right. But other times it's like, well, that was a shame because it was obviously him from the beginning. But the problem is with Kit, there's not really any evidence against him. The motive is he's... it's just that Kit's a dodgy guy.
I know, but okay,
isn't he?
But can I just say, if it turns out that there's like some big ulterior motive or something, or some reason that we don't know about as to why Kit was killed, why Joel was killed by somebody, and the person is somebody we didn't know, that's going to be super disappointing.
Kit has shown earlier in the year when he put the hair in the van that he's willing to. Not play by
Bend
the rules.
And for justice.
And what was his reason?
Bend for justice. Because he's seen that Joel is a slippery customer and he's trying to get away with not turning up at the hearing. And he must know, all the cops know he's doing a runner. If he's not turned up, it's not because he's put the wrong date in his calendar. It's because he's trying to do a runner. So from Kit, from the evidence of what we've seen from Kit, that he's perfectly capable of doing something criminal in the pursuit of justice, and whether the justice comes from I'm planting evidence so you get in trouble, or whether it's coming from, well, you're not going to be brought to justice, so I'm just going to off you, and also the other thing to point out, if it is Kit, how much of what he says can you trust? When he says to Swain, it was something like a crowbar, how can she, is there any way that she can find out whether he's telling the truth or not?
But I think, that we're supposed to believe that because they then took it to the interview room, it became official, it's a crowbar. I don't think he could have lied about that, but certainly you do have to
about some things.
Yeah, you got to analyse everything that Kit says, like, who's he saying this to? Is anyone else going to find out about it? Because I do not trust a word that comes out of his mouth.
Like, for example, he went to Flint to go check out this flat.
Yeah,
If I was Kit and I'd killed him, I wouldn't have gone to Flint. I would have gone to McDonald's to try out a McRib. Instead, I'd gone to Flint because I know he's not there because I killed him.
Yeah, exactly. You've also got like the whole bringing in Mason. Now, if we were to believe that Kit is 100% innocent on this and he's just literally trying to find who did it, you think, well, why would he bring in Mason?
Because he knows that.
Knowing that the Mason's crowbar is not going to have any trace of Joel's blood in, what's the point of that?
Why would he know? What are you saying? I don't
well,
understand.
if he's the one that killed Joel,
I thought you said
he knows.
Was innocent.
Yeah, but if we're to believe he's innocent,
no, I don't know what you're saying.
Right, okay. If he did it,
yes.
Why would he?
A.J. Simpson.
Why would he bring in Mason, knowing that it would be a complete waste of time? Because as soon as that crowbar of Mason's was investigated, it would turn out not to have any blood on it. So it was just a waste of time. But I would say that it's not a waste of time because that would be an alibi.
No, it just shows that he's working on the case.
Yeah,
of course
that's the thing I would do.
At the end of the day, all you have to do is find enough evidence that is plausible for CPS to charge him. So it doesn't matter whether the crowbar's clean or not, that doesn't really prove anything. It just proves that he cleaned the crowbar. He knows the crowbar's clean, but everybody knows if you kill someone with a crowbar, you're going to give it a bit of a wipe down.
I think it would make sense for him to say, well, it couldn't possibly be me that did it. Why would I have... If it was me that did it, why would I have investigated Mason when I knew it'd be
that doesn't make sense.
A brick wall? So
you'd have to do everything by the book like you would do if you didn't do it.
All the questioning, he's just going through the motions there, isn't he?
So the main reason...
and we've not seen any evidence of him being like genuinely surprised by anything. He, everything seems to be kind of, very well plotted and schemed.
And he's keeping Swain at a distance from the investigation because there's obviously tension between the two of them. They don't like each other very much. But if he did do it, he would want to keep her distant from it because she's more likely than anybody to figure out what he's up to and find out it was him that did it.
Yeah. I mean, the only real proper clue that we've got against Kit is the fact that we knew he was out late on the night of the murder, and they've not really touched on that
it again because
it was
investigating
it was a throwaway line between Jenny and Daisy on the night, and it kind of really smacks as something that Corrie want to reveal later and say, aha, we told you that. You've forgotten that, hadn't you?
Yeah.
But we haven't forgotten that. So I would almost go so far as to put money on it being Kit at the moment. But this could be, Corrie could be doing this completely on purpose and saying, we wanted you to think it was obvious that it was Kit, but it isn't. And there's definitely, that's there as a possibility in my head as well. But I would say that my number one suspect is Kit at the moment because he has been a dodgy geezer right from the start.
I just want to give a shout out to Maisie Spackman, who is the person who put together the Metro article. If you want to see it all written down, she's gone through lots of clues. I don't know if it's been updated as they're releasing new flashbacks. I also put together the Where is Joel video, which was a while ago, which has some clues in it, which obviously needs, it's not up to date
very
anymore.
Up to date now.
But people have been collecting clues all over the place, and it's
this particular article on the Metro was very thorough, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I'm gonna say it's him. It's not Dee-Dee. I kind of trust her version of events now. We just need to fill in the gaps about what happened when she confronted Joel in the car park.
Yeah, I mean, she's the wronged woman. She's seen what he's capable of. She's also got a streak of goodness about her. Perhaps she would consider herself to be necessary to kill him because she's protecting women.
If she has killed Joel, which she hasn't, but if she has, it was total accidental kill.
Well, they could have had a fight.
She's a good Christian girl, isn't she? And they don't go around just deciding to go and kill somebody.
I mean, the
not ones like Dee-Dee, anyway.
The interesting thing about Dee-Dee, and again, because this isn't real, it could be an oversight of the writing or whatever. But she's not gone to church. She hasn't got a Bible out. She's not praying, which is what I would expect her to be doing if she'd actually killed him. I think if she killed him, she would be looking for forgiveness and trying to find some way of God, letting her off the hook here.
There were the scene towards the end of the episode. I'd expect her to have a
conversation with Billy as well.
Yeah,
a really incriminating conversation.
At the scene at the end of the episode when she was sitting there, kind of clasping her hands, I wondered whether she was having a little pray then, but I don't think that she was. She's in the clear. Lisa, we've not really investigated a whole lot about what she was up to on that night. Obviously, we've not had a flashback. Clearly something has happened because she had that pain in her side.
She's got a pain in her side.
That's the main thing that I'm wanting to know about at the moment, but I think that's probably going to be explained away.
She's not got an alibi for where she was because it would have been Betsy who would have said that they were home together and Betsy wasn't home.
No.
Because Betsy was with
Mason. She was out with Mason, exactly.
So that's an interesting
There's
point.
Also the fact that Lisa's phone was off on the night when it happened.
I'm sorry, but I'm suspicious of anyone who ever turns their phone off.
Yeah, I know.
What are you doing?
I know. And she was also trying to dissuade Kit from investigating it. Right from the start, she was like, suicide, don't worry about it.
She was super sure it was suicide.
Yeah, there's definitely some dodginess there.
That is weird. That is weird that she was so insistent because she's always... Although I don't think she's as sort of a great cop as Corrie wants us to think she is, she definitely is supposed to be competent, and that's not a very competent thing to say before you know.
Yeah. I mean...
Especially with Joel, because Joel never struck me as the sort of person who would want to do that.
No,
He's too
I don't
egotistical.
think so. Yeah, I absolutely. I think Betsy is not... It's not impossible that
where do you think Swain's pains come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you think?
It's either she got it in a confrontation with Joel, or...
Which we haven't seen yet.
Which we haven't seen. Or she got it during a mother-daughter argument. And I don't think... I wouldn't put it past Betsy to give her mum a good shove. Especially if maybe Lisa has just discovered that her daughter has offed somebody. And she might well be keeping a secret for Betsy. Which she would want to do because she wants to... She was just kind of on the cusp of, me and Betsy have turned a corner. We've not seen eye to eye for so long, but now we can be friends. And, oh no, I found out some incriminating evidence against her. I'd better keep this quiet, otherwise I might spoil our relationship. But yeah, there might have been... Betsy... We said that when Betsy went to see Mason, she was all 6s and 7s. It could well be that she's just been bumping off Joel... And
she's too slight.
And then maybe Lisa finds out about it.
What if it...
So maybe if we're going down the is it two characters working together, I might say Kit and Betsy.
I'm going to say Lisa and Dee-Dee.
No, it's not.
But, okay, can I please explain?
Yeah, go on then.
We know that she's had a violent altercation, and it was the day of Joel's murder.
Yeah.
We know that Dee-Dee was there with a crowbar and she had blood on her hands. What if Lisa followed Dee-Dee and tried to stop her from attacking Joel with the crowbar, and then there was a fight and she's the one that hurt Joel in the face and he's the one that smacked her in the ribs?
It kind of does make me just want to go back and watch all their scenes in the last 3 weeks now.
What scenes have we
seen? See if I can see any...
Dee-Dee and Lisa. The thing is about it is that you're not going to pick up very much because it would be too obvious.
No, they're not working together. I think we've definitely seen scenes where there's just the two of them, and it would have been brought up.
The actors, yeah, okay, but the actors will, even if they are working together, not be giving out any clues with looks and stuff.
No, but
most of the looks you're going to see are going to be red herrings.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of red herrings going on here, but I think we've seen enough between Lisa and Dee-Dee in the last 3 weeks, private, where it would have been the time to say, God, we're getting away with it so far, so no way.
I do like the idea of it being Betsy and Kit.
Because they've got a relationship, in a way, haven't... Oh no, that was Betsy and Joel. What have Betsy and Kit got to do with each other? Not a whole lot.
Well, maybe maybe Kit has had a word with Betsy when we haven't seen them talking. He knew that she was... No, he finds after he's died all those messages, or does he? I don't know, but he knows there's a link between the two of them because of the conversation that they find of Joel coaching Betsy on the phone to order the drugs.
Yeah.
So he knows there's a link between them.
I really think we need to go back and watch literally all the scenes of the story in the last few weeks now. Because we could be missing, we could be just completely forgetting something. We almost need to watch it thinking, let's imagine it's these two.
Yeah.
Do we pick up any clues from there? What have we seen?
But, her motivation is that she's been humiliated. She's always had a bad situation with him.
Well, she was made to get the abortion pills by him. She almost killed Frankie.
Yeah, she might still be after money. She might have gone and said, I know where you're going, or she might find something out about him and he's had to try to attack her to... I don't know how a girl Betsy size would kill a man.
No, that I was going to say that as well. I would say that's somewhat
wrap
unlikely.
him up, put him in a car, which he doesn't have, drive him to a river. I mean, I guess maybe how did she get to the location of where Joel's car was without a car?
Yeah.
I mean, she could have driven the car all over the place. I don't know how she wouldn't have left hair in the car. They would have found a blonde hair. That would have been a really fun clue, wouldn't it? Because it would have made Lisa... And Lisa, if she'd seen it, would have taken it away, thinking maybe it's her hair.
Yeah.
But I don't think Betsy, if she did it alone. Same with Lauren.
Yeah, I don't think Lauren did it at all.
I know she's powered with the rage of a mother, but And I have heard that women can lift cars when their babies are underneath them, but I'm not sure how easy it is to kill an evil solicitor.
I've not seen enough clues at all from Lauren that she's feeling guilty about something that she might have done, or even worried that she's going to get caught.
I mean, the obvious thing to say is that she's one of the group that you might say are more disposable.
Well, I'm going to say, like I said, pretty much everybody here is disposable. I don't think Ed is. Don't think Dee-Dee is.
Yeah.
But pretty much everyone else is. Even Ronnie could be disposable.
I know, I'm not trying to be mean about this isn't a reflection of whether I want the characters to be in the show or not, because I think all these characters are fine. I don't think it will be Max for the same reason, because
no way,
Max
100%
is probably
not Max.
The least likely because of because he's a legacy character who, no matter whether Paddy Beaver wants to be in the show or not, they can still have that character of Max, but played by someone else. I don't want them to. Just to be clear, I don't want them to recast. I don't think there's ever I don't think it seems like he wants to leave or anything. But he is one of the characters that they would bother to recast if ever Paddy Beaver said, "I'm not doing it anymore." They would probably retire the character for a year or however long and bring him back as somebody else.
Yeah. I do not think it was
People's
Max.
sons and daughters on Corrie of a big name don't generally tend to do stuff like this because they don't want to lose the character. This is why we got Todd recast.
Yeah, exactly. And Mason, like we said, probably not, although he could well have disappeared off after Betsy comes to see him in
Mason's got
Speed Dial,
probably the least convincing...
Like, he's had nothing to do with the story. He's been too busy chumming it up with Stu for the past few months, hasn't he?
He's got the least convincing motive.
Yeah, for sure.
And it would have to be a motive that we'd have to have constructed for us in flashbacks, which I don't really want them to do. But then Kit, well, I don't know, Kit's isn't the same.
So we're going between Betsy and Kit at this stage. Be interesting to see whether we're still in the same position next week.
We haven't also mentioned Carla.
It wasn't Carla.
Why?
She's got no reason for doing
Well, she's got that link with Swain, but it's not really developed enough for murder.
Yeah, we got like Emily, Joel's wife. It'd just be really.
If it was Emily, I'd be a bit cross.
Yeah.
We've got Ellie, who is the urchin, who's the waif, who's a wronged waif.
Yeah.
We've got
Bobby.
I don't think it's
clearly
Bobby.
not.
Because we've got this picture that Coronation Street has put out, and there's the clever thing they've done with it is that it's not like they've given us silhouettes of like here's a space, but that we've got Mason in the picture, we've got the Bailey boys, and we've got Dee-Dee in it so far.
There's quite a lot of room.
There's a lot of space. You've got a spare chair. You've got you can have 2 people here. You can have 3 people here. You could probably
fit a good 8, 9, 10 people in this picture.
And also, obviously, they weren't all in the same place. This was not a group photo. It's just photoshopped in. So they can put anyone anywhere. They could have Swain come out the lift going, "It was me all along." They could have Swain poking out the hole going, "Have you decided who did it yet?"
I just hope that they quickly establish who the suspects are, and it is one of them. Because the worst thing that they can do in this sort of story is have it someone you didn't even expect, which they have done before.
It's a cop out, and it's not. Fans don't like it.
Right. I think we've been going nearly 2 hours now just about this one story, and I know it was the big story of the week, and it's a mystery which is obviously going to elicit a lot of discussion. So well done, Coronation Street. You've got people talking about the show. I would still say that the choice of characters that are involved isn't necessarily the best, because a lot of them are have only been in the show for a little while, and it doesn't matter if they're gone. But do love a murder mystery. And it has absolutely got me excited for the coming weeks. But how long do you want it to last? Do you want it to go till Christmas? I feel like it could be, if it's still going at Christmas, it feels like it could be too long.
They can't though, because they've started this clock ticking now with their Who Killed Joel and the flashbacks. I think once we've run out of flashbacks, we're going to find out. If they have a big gap and then we don't find out after they've run through the flashbacks, people are going to riot. Because people are already moaning about it. But
let's say a month. Give it a month, Coronation Street.
Yeah, it will be definitely over in a month.
Do you reckon?
I think.
You reckon? Okay. Right, let's move on to the other stories, and maybe we'll rush through them a little bit quickly because by now we're usually getting onto the cabin. But people did say they enjoyed our nearly 4-hour-long episode last week. I hope I think we've gone around in circles a little bit with this. I don't edit, so sorry. But Jessie, Gail, and House for Sale. So Sarah Lou has gone to see Adam at the beginning of Monday's episode up in the lawyer's office to say, did you take the money from the lockup? This is the second big mystery of the week. Where's this money gone that Damon told Adam about? And supposedly it wasn't him that took it, even though I think it possibly still was at the end of the day. I don't know. He says he had nothing to do with it. The only other person who I told about the money was Daniel. Then you also get some scenes this week of visiting Bethany in hospital. That element of the story I was less engaged with, considering that a couple of weeks ago I was like all in on the Bethany's got a bag, Bethany's got a bad surgery. At the moment that it really feels a bit fillerish to me, Bethany, Daniel, will they, won't they? Even like the fact that Bethany dumped Daniel a week ago and then by the next episode they were back together again. It feels like it's kind of wasting time a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And have we had our awareness of stomas raised now? Is that basically it? Or are we just waiting for Bethany to get out of hospital? Which makes sense that she's in there for a long time, but I think we're all just kind of waiting to get rid of those hospital scenes and have her reintegrate into what's going on in the street.
Some people are talking about the stoma stuff and pointing out, which I think is very fair, that it's still not really clear what it is or what it involves or what... If this is raising awareness about stomas, it's not, because I don't think I can get from it what a stoma is. I know what a stoma is because I already know. But from Coronation Street, it just seems like it's a bad thing that you get and you have it for life and it's a bag and you can kind of fill the blanks in. But nobody's just come out and actually said. I think they're still dancing around it and being a bit,
Maybe.
I think they need to say it head on.
I trust them that they will.
I hope so, because but why not yet? Why not have a nurse come and say, hi Bethany, I'm your stoma doctor or something. I know it's really hard. Nobody's done this to her. It makes sense when it didn't happen in Turkey because they're not doing her ongoing care. But now she's in the care of the NHS. You would think somebody would come and say, let me help you and explain what it is. A stoma bag, as you know, is da-da-da-da-da. We've had it for stupid stuff that we didn't need awareness raising for, like, don't fall asleep in a house with a carbon dioxide. Monoxide. I won't do that. Thanks for the tip.
Right, okay, so...
I just want to say one thing about Bethany's story. I was trying to think of an analogy for why it would be unfair to blame Bethany for having this operation.
Yeah.
And sort of saying she brought it on herself. And the only thing I can think of is if you're in a car crash, say you're in a car crash and you ended up damaging your body and you had a stoma, right? Nobody would say to you, well, where were you going in the car? Where were you going? Was it somewhere you needed to go? Was it, you were driving to the shop up the road where you could have walked, so you kind of brought this on yourself because you didn't actually need to go in the car. Nobody goes, oh, it was a frivolous reason that you were in the car. When you're in a car accident, nobody says, what were you doing in the car in the first place? It's a tragedy, but we all know everybody goes in the car all over the place for no reason at all. If she'd
been in a car to go and get some plastic surgery, would we have had the same response?
Or like, were you just out for a drive? Well, you shouldn't do that anyway because you're killing the planet. Well, that's just what I thought of as an analogy that you could use if you were Bethany to explain why you shouldn't be blamed.
Well, we'll see when she gets out. The main kind of Bethany side of the story here is that Jenny finds out about Daniel giving Bethany the heave-ho and feeds the goss back to Daisy later and saying, look, you got your chance here, you should make your moves on Daniel if you want to do that. And Daisy, fair play to her, goes to the hospital and rather than saying, I'm going to steal your man, she actually says, Daniel's mad about you, you should take him back. So that surprised me a little bit because I was quite convinced that this story would lead to Daisy and Daniel getting back together, and I kind of hoped it would as well, to be fair. Then Daisy's here saying, no, I don't want him.
When I was watching this episode, this scene, I was thinking to myself, I literally know nobody in my real life who would have the emotional maturity to do what Daisy's doing right now. Fair play to her.
Yeah, she's grown, hasn't she? David...
Also, I was thinking if I was Bethany, I would not really want to have this conversation with her. It could have been a text.
Yeah. David's interested in seeing Adam later on, and he's interested in seeing Adam and Daniel speaking later. And Adam mentions the money, assuming David knows about it, this lock-up money, and David's like, I don't want to hear about Damon again. Don't tell me about him. Daniel gets back together with Bethany. Hurrah, that was a bit of a waste of time having them split up, really, wasn't it? And then we get the next morning scene. There's only one in this story on Monday, and it's David making it clear to Jessie that he's really not appreciated. Leave us alone. And Jessie says, that's okay, I'll be out of your hair soon because I've got keys to my new flat in Oak Hill today. So he is also kind of under the spotlight because people are saying, how did Jessie get all this money to buy a house in Oak Hill? Wednesday, Jessie finds David looking through the papers in the lounge trying to find a way to be able to afford number 8 because remember, Gail's putting it on the market, and Gail has apparently promised to hold fire until David can find a way to make an offer on the house. Sarah comes into the house later and says, well, David, what do you make of Jessie? I think he's bloody weird. How is he affording this place in Oak Hill? There is something off about him, and I don't know what it is, but they're distracted during this by the sound of a for sale sign being put up outside. So David's like, whoa, hang on a minute. Phones up Gail. I thought you told me that you'd wait, but Carla waits. Gail waits for nobody.
The most frustrating thing about this whole stupid story is that literally nobody needs to afford to buy the house of Gail. They just have to give her the money to cover the loan.
Yeah.
Why is she still selling the damn house? Why have the Platts not had a whip round? What's happened to the GoFundMe or whatever money? Where's that gone?
I mean, it's very, very expensive,
It's
and
stupid.
I don't think you're going to raise that much money with a little GoFundMe, especially if people are pulling out because they don't agree that Bethany should have been having the plastic surgery in the first place.
I don't understand why the family, they keep going, well, I haven't got 70, I don't know how much it is, say 75,000, whatever. No, you don't. None of you do. But you might have 5,000, you might have 10,000.
Well, I think this is what David's trying to find. I think he's
trying to buy the house.
Yeah, but I think he's trying to find enough money to buy the deposit.
Yeah, but that's again, if he had the deposit, he's got the money to give to Gail for the loan.
Well,
this whole story is another one of these, I'm selling the house, and it's just silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think that there's any chance at the end of this that the house doesn't belong to the Platts?
It's going to be a Platt house. It's just ridiculous.
Ever since that house has been built, a Platt has lived in it, and you can't say that about any other house on that street. Every other house has been
even number one was a Tatlock house.
Yeah, exactly. Every other house has been owned by multiple families, and it's got to change sometime.
But I don't see why this should be the story. And also the other thing that everyone seems to be forgetting, David and Sarah especially, is that when Gail sells the house and gets the money to pay off this loan and give Bethany some, she'll have some left over. Yeah, she's still homeless though. What's she going to do for a house? They keep talking about it like it's free money, and like, oh, why is Jesse sniffing around? It's because he wants the money. What, so he can hang out with a homeless woman? She's going to have to use the money for
she
rent.
Can rent something, can't she?
I know, but you see what I mean? It's not free money that she's got from magicking it out of her arsehole. She sold out where she lives. She doesn't have anywhere to live now. It's not free cash. It's all spoken for. She's going to have to move somewhere else.
Well, like I said, I'm sure there are multiple empty bedrooms in Grassmere Drive that she can move into if Audrey will let her.
Audrey's just a cow. She's sitting on a load of money. Nobody's asked the old Dragon Rita. He's sitting on her pile of cash for a loan.
She only gives to Sally. She's a Webster donor. Anyway, Carla for some reason comes having a look around the house because apparently she's decided she doesn't want to live in the flat anymore.
This was a weird development, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, if I was Carla or anybody on the street and I heard that Platts was up for sale and I hadn't been there, I'd want to have a look around. I'd want to see...
Carla strikes me as more of a flat dweller. I can't see her being like the homely type of housemaker.
I can't see her coping with a garden.
No, exactly.
She would definitely pave the hell out of that and stick a chimney in the back.
Yeah. I think that having a whole house to herself is too much for Carla because it involves housework.
She's got Bobby and Ryan to look after, and maybe some other people.
Maybe Lisa might come live in there at some point. Yeah, so I think it was just a little entertaining side story. I don't think that there's any real risk in Carla wanting to move in.
But I would go just to see the spot where a man was murdered in the live episode.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that reminded me.
Did that not...
David says today, if we were to make a list of Sarah's top 5 dodgiest boyfriends, then Damon would definitely be at number 1. I'm sorry, I would put Callum right at the top. Is this a Patreon episode for us rating Sarah's terrible relationships?
Sarah's boyfriends.
Yeah.
Also, is this house devalued because number 1, it's on a sinkhole, and number 2, it's the site of a burial?
Well, yeah, didn't we have, was it last year? I can't remember. Didn't Tyrone want to try and sell number 9 or something, and nobody's interested in it because it was in the same street as the sinkhole? And now, literally, they're trying to sell the house where the sinkhole opened up. I mean, there's got to be quite a low price that they're asking for this.
I'd be shocked if she could sell it for even the amount that she needs to pay off Bethany's money.
And you pointed out when we were watching it, this is Carla. Literally, her dad died just down there.
Yeah, because of the sinkhole that
you're living over your father's grave. Yeah. That's morbid. And I know Carla is a bit of a Morticia, but even this is going a bit far.
Michael, it's handy for work.
It is very handy for work.
Cuts the commute down a treat.
Yeah. You just will step out of your house and there it is. But no, I don't think Carla's going there. But David's is kind of worried because he wants this house for himself, and he tells Carla, look, you already live somewhere, this is my family home, bog off. And she says she's gonna have to take it up with Gail, sorry. Adam goes and visits Sarah in the flat later. She's still worried about this missing money. She's got a bad feeling that Jesse might have taken it, and he's acting very vague about the whole thing. Adam says, well, it is possible that Jesse knew about it because me and Daniel were talking quite loudly about it in the pub, and I know that's usually fine, and the people in the background can't hear anything you're saying, and we can't hear what they're saying. But in this case, I think Jesse might have overheard us talking about it. Sorry. So Sarah Lou goes back, tells David about this, and David's more shocked to hear that Daniel and Adam know about the money. He's like, you need to be really careful about who you're telling about this money because this could come and bite you in the bum. I love the Sarah and David scenes. Don't you? Like, it feels, it's not super rare that they have scenes together, but those two actors work so brilliantly with each other. They've got 25 years worth of experience of playing brother and sister, and they just bounce off each other perfectly.
What row was...
They were both front row. Tina O'Brien was also in the front row posse in the cast. Yeah, she is legend. She's brilliant. I rate Tina O'Brien so highly. And yeah, these two together is always pretty much gold. Friday, we got Jesse. I mean, we've not seen Gail at all this week, have we? Considering this is the big Gail story, and look, we brought back Jesse, we were going to bring back Martin. There's been a suspicious lack of Gail in it, and I think it just ties into the fact that we've not seen her much this year, and I think that she probably did feature more heavily in the original shoots of it when Sean Wilson was on set, and now she's like, I'm not doing it again. Everyone else could do the reshoots, but I'm going to be off screen. And she obviously had the scenes where, in the episode where Jesse first arrived, and last week's one. She was in 2 episodes last week, wasn't she? Wednesday and Friday.
It definitely makes sense.
I'm a bit worried that we're not going
to.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried that we might not see Gail again until they catch up with where they were going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, how different do you think this story is?
Would she have put the house up for sale in the Martin Platts story?
I mean, I'm going to say that an awful lot of this story does sound like it could have fit Martin. Gail says that she met Martin in Thailand, or maybe Martin just hears about Bethany's operation and then decides to come back. Gail wants to sell the house. David and Sarah think that Martin has stolen the money. I think an awful lot of this, the story would have worked just as well with Martin in it as well. And that makes sense because it must have been utter chaos when they realised that they had to do all those rewrites, and to keep it as close as possible to the original story was probably the easiest. And I know lots of people are down on this story, but I don't believe it's Corrie's fault, and I wouldn't
think they've
blame
done
them
as
for taking
much
the
as they
easiest
could have
option in a very, very difficult situation.
think
The easiest option is cross out Martin, right, Jesse?
I think they've done a great job of covering their tracks.
It's a shame because, you know, I'd like to see more of the Gail and Eileen feud, and maybe when we catch up to the point where they're not doing reshoots anymore, we'll start to see a bit more of that, because we saw it on the first day, but since then Eileen's been pretty much absent.
One thing I've noticed, and we've both noticed, is that a couple of episodes recently, you've cut from a scene with a character and then you cut to the scene with the character in a different place doing something different immediately. And normally Corrie would never do that, because unless you're following somebody for a specific
we had it
purpose.
today, didn't we? We had David and Sarah inside the house, and then you cut to a scene where Sarah's outside the house looking for a lost kid.
Yeah, normally they would never do that,
They'd
because
put something in between.
they put something in between, so to create the illusion of time passing in a non-confrontational way, like in a natural way. So it's just those kind of like things that are normally very polished on Corrie.
Yeah,
it shows how much work they've had to do to hide the cracks.
I mean, I suppose the big thing here that wouldn't fit in the Martin storyline is that David and Sarah Lou are very suspicious of Jesse, and I don't think they would be with Martin.
Well, I don't know.
I think they might still wonder, has Martin taken the money?
I don't know if.
But it makes more sense to be suspicious of Jesse.
No, I think this. I don't know. I think this section feels remade. I think this feels.
I really, really want to know. I would love to know what the original
this
scenes
story
were, how close it was.
With Jesse is made for Jesse, because there's no reason for them to think that their dad stolen money.
Well, let's go through Fridays and see. So Jesse pops round and says, Gail's round at my house. She doesn't want to come over because everyone's horrible at number 8. This is clearly Helen Worth not being available for filming here. Then he says to David, yeah, Gail's ignoring your calls on purpose. She's fed up with you not accepting the pair of us together. And David's like, well, look, I need to speak to her. I've got every right to not want my house to be sold from underneath me. Thank you very much.
I also think that legally, you can't just, if they're tenants, you can't just sell the house and without...
But they're tenants in a way that...
No, it doesn't work like
adults
that.
and children...
It doesn't work like that. You have rights even if you're related to the person.
Are they paying rent? I don't know.
You still have rights. You can't just be kicked out because you're selling. And also, whoever buys it has to be told there are tenants living here and they don't want the house to be sold. I wouldn't get involved in this if you paid me.
So anyway, they go to the Rovers, Jesse, Sarah Lou and David, and Jesse's like... You got to trust me. I get that you were burned by some of Gail's exes, and I think Nick's there as well, isn't he? And this is where Nick says, "Well, drowned actually." Nice Hillman reference. But Jesse says, "Look, honestly, I'm on the level. The reason I've got a bit of money at the moment is because I've just sold me and my ex's old place.
Yeah, I've got my own money. I don't need
is.
her money. Mind you, I think they should probably pool their money and buy somewhere together."
Yeah, but then later on, Jesse has to make a hasty exit from the house because he gets for the pub. Because he gets a phone call, and Sarah gives chase, and she does a bit of sneaking around by the tram station where she sees him meet up with and hug a woman. And she's like, oh my gosh, what's this? She's doing a bit of sneaking, but then she accidentally bumps into Logan, who just happens to be there, loitering around.
He seems to be following her.
Yeah, it seemed like he was following her.
He's involved in the money, isn't he? He's stolen the money.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, it must obviously be him, isn't it?
There's not any reason why he would know that the money was there, is it?
Or
Or
no,
just all the crims
criminal.
of Weatherfield have all got
if
special social network of their own, yeah.
If word's on the street, the money is... Didn't Adam go there and take some of it, or not?
I think we were led to believe he did, because he found out about the money, and the next thing you know, he's put a £500 donation into Bethany's pot. But we didn't see for sure that that's what had happened.
Yeah, so I think he... Yeah, he's hanging around, but I don't know why he's still following her around, though.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this at the moment, unless he thinks,
But here you go. Logan was involving Mason in a robbery.
Yeah.
And now he's not.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's got money. Because he's stolen it from the lockup.
It would make sense if it was him, and I'm not. I'm kind of on the side of I don't really care who stole the money.
I didn't even give it any thought, to be honest. It's one of these things where it's like, I know you want to entice me with this mystery.
Anything involving gangsters, Damon, stolen money. Literally,
Lockups.
I couldn't be less interested in it. Really couldn't. But the whole stuff about what's Jesse getting up to, and when he went and hugged that woman, I was like, oh my gosh, who's she? But it turns out that she's his ex-wife, Jane, and Jane's not happy to hear that Jesse's already moved on to a new woman. But she
makes
says
a revelation.
Yeah, well, and then this doesn't go anywhere, does it? She says that when Jesse was inside, I was the one that cheated on him. He's actually a decent bloke, apart from the fact that he's obviously gone to prison for something. So I don't know what's gone on there. There's no indication at all what Jesse went into. I mean, presumably you can't go get sent down for crimes against children's entertainment for just being absolutely terrible.
Because you would have been arrested already.
I know.
What about animal cruelty? Maybe John didn't fly away.
Oh yes, David mentions John the parrot this week, doesn't he? And he's like, "What happened to you and your parrot? Did you have artistic differences or something like
he
that?"
He flew away.
Glad that got a reference.
But I'm just going to say, Corrie.
What?
Why would a clown have a parrot?
Yeah. Everyone knows that cowboys have parrots.
Stop rewriting history. He was not a clown. It's driving me mad.
I don't think they've actually mentioned clown this week.
It's driving me nuts.
They're clearly trying to...
Maybe they just kept...
Maybe
this is part of the original script, and Martin actually in Australia was a clown.
Yeah, they forgot to take that bit out.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's clear that Jesse has no idea about the money.
Well, Sarah tries to trick him, doesn't she? She's like... I know you took the money. And he's like, I don't know what money.
Yeah. The only other thing really that happens here is that Sarah loses her keys later, and we see that Logan has them, and he's there looking very kind of grisly.
Where's this going? Maybe no.
Were they the keys to her flat, or were they the keys to number 8? I'm not sure.
Well, the only reason, the link I'm manifesting here in my mind is that he knows the money was told that he knows Adam knows where the money. If he's stolen the money, it's a bit of a weird coincidence that he stole this money right after Damon told Adam where the money was, because nobody knew anything about it. And then one of Mason's colleagues has gone to find the money and noticed it's missing. How often did he ever check? Then you see Logan, who was going to commit a crime and then decided not to, and he's clearly not above breaking and entering, stalking Sarah, and the link there is Sarah and Adam, because I can't think of why else Mason's brother would give a crap about Sarah, who's nothing to do with anybody.
No, I don't see
the link. So the link must
yet.
be Adam and something to do with the money. But why? And does he have the money? He can't.
Has Mason got the keys to Adam and Sarah's? No, Adam doesn't.
Or has Adam actually stolen the money and is keeping his mouth shut about it while he decides what the hell to do with it? And Logan knows that he's the one that has the money, and he's going to break in because he thinks that Adam lives at Sarah's house still, or is he going to menace Sarah or kidnap her?
Where does Adam live now? I can't remember.
He was couch surfing with Dee-Dee.
Oh yeah, but he's not
anywhere. Where he is
now.
Know.
I'm not sure.
That's the only thing I can think, that Logan's involved in the money and that's why he's following Sarah around.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find out more on Monday.
I'm sure we'll find out.
I'm very keen to find out what Logan's like. I want to really like him because,
he hasn't said anything.
Again, we follow the actor on Instagram, and he's very excited about being in Coronation Street, and I hope that I can also enjoy the character of Logan when he is properly revealed next week.
One thing you can never accuse us of is not wanting to enjoy Coronation Street and wanting Corrie to do well, and wanting all the actors to have a great time and enjoy that being in the process and have a good experience and do their best and be enjoyable, because that's all we want out of Coronation Street.
We do. Right, blast through. What's been going on with Nick this week?
You've done 2 stories in a row. Did you notice?
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Oh, yeah, you're right. I did. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you can do 2 in a row if you like now.
I don't mind. Well,
You did say Gemma's had a bit of a headache today, haven't you?
I've got a really sore wrist and my thumbnail hurts.
What?
Yes, it hurts, and it's really hot.
Oh yeah, you got a bit of a hot thumbnail.
I think I've maybe...
Somebody NHS direct
I've been sniffing it. Our cats can tell if there's something seriously wrong.
Come on, what's been going on with Nick? He's struggling this week, isn't he?
What probably made you read this last story instead of me was because I was doing a poll on on our Twitter about who you think killed
Oh,
Joel.
right,
So
yeah.
I've put the 3 suspects. I put the Bailey boys together, and I put Dee-Dee and Mason and none of the above.
Okay.
And at the moment, none of the above is winning for the 60%. Bailey boys got 9%, Dee-Dee's got 28%, and Mason's got 3%.
Oh, okay.
And some people are commenting because I asked them to tell me what they thought. And we've got something. Chris Horrocks has said, I think whoever has a shop selling crowbars has some questions to answer.
See, this is what I say. They know they're arms dealers.
Chris Devancy thinks it's Anne Foster, but quite a few people got Joe Sheridan here, and somebody else also. Oh, Daniel said they think it's his dad.
Yes, Gus has been able to avoid suspicion here. I mean, that would be that would be mega disappointing if it was Gus. Like, a character that we've barely seen turns out to be the murderer. Sorry,
would be a
that's even worse than when Anne Foster turned out to be the murderer of Frank, because at least we knew somewhat what her character was like before.
She was in more than just 4 episodes.
We know next to nothing about Gus. That would be a real shame. But you're right, it's not impossible.
And we also had somebody who said, who cares? And just so you know, if you say who cares or I don't care, you get added to my list of people on Twitter who don't care. And then if you go and look at that list, it's some of the most miserable people on the whole internet. Okay, so Toya, Nick's Leanne's boyfriend, and Leanne, this is, write this down, this has never happened before. She's a bitch.
Leanne is a bit of a bitch this week.
I can't believe this. Someone else is homeless, not just Gail. Now our Toya's homeless.
Poor Toya
by
got
the end of the
nowhere
week.
to live. She and Gail can maybe shack up together.
Well, yeah, how Jesse and Gail can start some kind of commune.
Yeah.
So on Monday,
Monday's episode is woman at the bistro fancies
she
Nick.
was quite a nice looking woman, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She's kind of giving a few glad eyes towards Nick, and David notices, and
Well, so does Sam, yeah.
Yeah, Sam's seeing this happen, and he's not really happy, and he puts her off when no one's looking. Sam tells this woman that Nick's engaged.
I think that these are Sam's new glasses this week. I remember Jude Riordan put it on Instagram a few months ago. Oh, Sam's got some new glasses, but I've not actually investigated this. But he is looking older now, isn't he? He has been on the show for quite a while.
I know. He still feels new and like a little baby.
He still does. He's got a very kind of baby face, hasn't he? He's going to be one of these ones that suddenly becomes an adult
well, he
out of nowhere.
reminds me a little bit like of who played Graham Haberforth.
Yeah.
Who played Jerry Booth. He always had a nice, cute face, didn't he?
In my head, he's still a very innocent,
just remember,
young,
this is a
preteen child, but he's not.
He's growing into a man.
It's a couple of years.
He's going to be going, hello there.
Yeah, he's so funny, but he's not changed
He's very
personality
sweet.
at all.
No.
as just as brilliant
well,
as he was. I love
Machiavellian.
Sam. Absolutely love Sam.
On Monday, because he puts this woman off, and Nick sort of tells Sam tells Nick, I want you and Leanne to make friends. I know you're not actually engaged, and what I said was a lie, but maybe you could be. And Nick's like, it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, he tells the woman that Nick's engaged, doesn't he?
And
That's his ruse.
Sam's saying, I miss my mum. This is the anniversary week of the Coronation Street where Johnny and Natasha died.
Yeah, but I think people might be a bit confused. Even you were, weren't you? Because
yeah.
it was obviously a Halloween-themed thing, but it didn't happen at Halloween. It was 2 weeks
before.
But
I totally am on board with starting Halloween on the 1st of October and just continuing. So on Wednesday, Sam and Ruby at the bus stop. I feel so sorry for this. Sam, again, I said this before, he's experiencing so much upheaval because of the messy personal lives of all of the adults that are supposed to be in charge of him.
Yeah,
and
he seems to be the most mature of them all.
I know.
Yeah, look, he's shucking oysters on Wednesday, isn't he? Are you seeing any potential romantic anything between Sam and Ruby now that her older sister has given him the heave-ho?
It would be brilliant because Hope would not accept this.
Hope would hate it.
I would love just the sparks to fly there.
Ruby's got her head screwed on. She's not, as mature or
clever
or clever as Sam, but I think that could possibly work.
They're too similar for it to really feel like a fascinating relationship, but without Hope's intervention. I think if Hope gets involved, it could actually be really good fun.
Yeah, I'd quite like to. I just want Sam to have a nice girl. I'd kind of want to protect Sam. I don't want him to have his heart broken again.
I know, I feel like some kind of distant relative.
And I'd quite like to see some kind of unrequited love. I'm kind of seeing a Curly Raquel thing for Sam.
Don't curse anybody with that.
He's still a little young, but it's not going to be too long before he gets the first proper girlfriend, and I can't
Hope
wait.
would burn your house down for saying she's not a proper girlfriend. So anyway, he's talking about moving because Nick's still looking for somewhere for them to live, and he doesn't know where he's going to end up, and he's going to be away from everybody. And he's found this new place, but there's light pollution.
Oh yeah, because there's a football stadium nearby or something.
And she's like going, look, I know you're just upset because Nick and Leanne are splitting up, but grown-ups are always doing that kind of thing.
She says that Fizz and Tyrone have split up many times over the years. Don't worry about it, just ride it through. And I think this is partly what spurs Sam on Wednesday to try and
he tries to
help them along a little bit.
So he invites Nick over to watch a film, and Nick's like, okay, all right, but this is all part of Sam's ruse. Leanne's being a bitch to Nick in the bistro later. I don't know I think you can just assume that's happening unless we tell you otherwise.
Yeah. She's got good reason to. She's got every bloody reason to not give him a civil word.
I know, but
he
somehow
slept with her sister.
She's coming off as the one that's in the wrong.
I know. Well, this is why this bit I'm not really enjoying it, because again, it seems like it's just heading right towards the inevitable reunion between Nick and Toya, and we're supposed to be saying, oh, poor Nick, isn't he? I'm being a coward. He cheated on her. He deserves her ire and spurn and scorn. Exactly.
Well, she's not letting up.
I am on Team Leanne here.
Sam, this was I was shocked at Sam doing this, because if he can find oysters, he can find gloves and a knife.
He had a knife. That's
a proper oyster shucker and I can't believe that Sam would ever attempt this without safety equipment. And I also think that the sort of YouTube video he was watching would have told him to make sure that he had safety equipment, and you're supposed to use a towel to put against your hand. I don't buy that he would have cut himself.
He's only little.
I know he's only little. So he cuts himself inevitably, and then leaves the fish to rot on the side. So I can't imagine what that flat smelled like after they came back from the hospital. But he goes to see Asher, and she takes him to the hospital.
She's a paramedic, don't you know?
I know. I love Asher in this story.
Nice little inclusion. I haven't seen her doing much for a while.
I can just imagine us in about 10 years' time when we're rattling off Asher's updated character profile, going, "Oh, do you remember when Asher took Sam to the hospital when he cut himself?"
Not really.
And yeah, of course, that was when Nick and Toya got together, and they're still happily
still
together
going
now.
Strong 20 years later. Yeah.
Right. So she takes him to the hospital, and Nick gets a phone call from Asher to say that's what's happened, and he hurries off, and Leanne's looking concerned. So
it's basically this
Nick
episode
says, like,
is them realising that our feud has now
affected the child.
Made our
drawn
child.
Blood.
Exactly.
So Nick's saying in the hospital to Sam, "I appreciate what you were trying here, but we're not getting back together." So
I wonder whether, do you think when Dee-Dee confronted Joel in the car, she was look, let's just talk this through, let's just crack open some oysters, and try and chat this out, and that's why she's got a cut hand. Yeah, do you think she tried to prise an oyster open with a crowbar? That could
just
work,
whack them with a crowbar to save yourself from cutting your palm. So they both agree on the end of Wednesday's episode to try to be more civil because it's upsetting Sam. So on Friday, Nick, because he's dossing on the sofa at number 8, is getting in everyone's way.
Did you spot, well, I'm not asking you, I'm asking the listeners. I didn't spot it. Thank you very much to the person on the Coronation Street Reddit that pointed this out. That there is a massive error that gets through in the script here. Shona says to Nick, "Why aren't you staying at Gary and Sarah's house?" Gary and Sarah, what are you on? How on earth did that get through? As I say, I didn't notice it because part of the time I'm just tapping away on the computer and I don't always catch everything everybody says. But that was like a massive, massive mistake in the script, and somebody should have spotted that. Apart from the fact that, these were the reshoots. This is the leeway I'm going to give it. These were the reshoots. They were probably cranking out scene after scene after scene after the Sean Wilson debacle, and maybe they did hear it. But then if they'd seen it, they probably would have just snipped it, wouldn't they?
I'm not gonna say.
Or dubbed over it.
I think it's perfectly possible that Shona said Gary and Sarah's without... In real life, you might say this because you're referring to the fact it was their house at one point, but it doesn't make sense that it's in the script.
I mean, you've heard me speak on the podcast, and every week I say the wrong name multiple times in an episode, just as a slip of the tongue. So these things happen, but yeah, they don't usually... It was just
I think it's just, again, some of the cracks are showing with the huge scramble and the Herculean effort that has gone into rewriting massive parts of it and reshooting this heroic effort that they've done. Of course, there are going to be a couple of mistakes, and we're definitely...
I'm not going to say, of course, mistakes, but I think mistakes can be forgiven more. But well done to whoever pointed it out.
I don't think it's possible to just never make a mistake.
Well...
And I'm going to go on record as saying that because I've made many.
You've covered your back now.
Right, so yeah, Friday is when he's, Nick saying, just so you know, it's the anniversary of Natasha's death, so Sam's probably going to be a bit sad. And also, it was your house's fault. And probably someone's going to underbid because of that. So Leanne finds Nick in the pub later, and he's talking, and she's saying, oh, poor Sam was talking about his mum, and they're sad about it. And Leanne tells Toya... Well, no, this conversation... So Leanne and Nick have this conversation in the pub, and we don't hear a lot of it. But then Toya gets told by Leanne, I've decided that we should move out of the flat so that Nick can move in with Sam.
Yeah, Toya is...
Toya's like, okay.
Fair enough.
Whatever, that's fine. That makes sense. I said this months ago, or whenever they first broke up, why the hell has Nick moved out of his own place and left his son to be looked after by somebody who's not related to him? But hey, okay, they finally caught up, I guess. So Toya's like, yeah, that actually makes more sense than us living there with his son. And Leanne says, yeah, well, I'm going to move into the salon flat by myself.
So they said that Craig is now living with Kirk, so I think
we'll never see
them again, yeah.
Because there's no set for Kirk.
No.
At the moment, so they're going to move into the salon flat, which I took a long time to remember whose that was. But I think I remember it mostly when Kate lived there.
Yeah, she was there for a bit, wasn't she?
Yeah, so that's the one that's...
It's mostly Maria's flat.
It's the one that's it's got a little kitchen
in the background.
And then to the left of that is the seating area, and in front of the kitchen is a sofa.
Yeah, it has been.
You'll recognise it when you see it.
Frequently
it hasn't been in it for
past.
ages. But Toya's like, oh, I've thought about it, and I'm fine. It makes sense, and everything's okay. And so she helps her to pack, and they're going through everything, and Toya looks like she's really putting a brave face on, but she's like, yeah, I don't mind. I should be by myself too. I guess I'll just look and find somewhere. I bet there's loads of places.
I am kind of curious to see what happens with Toya, where she moves in, and does she get a new flatmate, and does she start to get involved in someone else's storylines? Equally, there's the worry that
she's going to move in with Nick.
Well, I don't think it's a case of moving in. I think
she already lives there. She's going to say, sorry, Nick, I'm trying to find somewhere to live, but turns out the pittance you pay me and the hours that I get working in your poxy place, I can't afford to live by myself.
Yeah, so they say, well, can I just live here until...
Yeah,
if I was Leanne, in fact, if I was Toya, and I know Toya still does have the hots for Nick a little bit, and she's trying to repress those feelings, but seriously, Leanne's not going to be happy with saying, oh yeah, that's fine, Toya, you stay living with Nick, I totally trust you. If I was Leanne here, I'd be saying, look, I don't want you to stay with me, but I'd much rather you were staying with me for the next few weeks while you found somewhere to live than moving in and living with him.
Well, she shot herself in the foot here. This is on Leanne partially, because leaving Toya in the flat with her boyfriend, stupid move.
Yeah, exactly. It is a stupid move. Well,
it's in the pursuit of bitchery, so I'll give her a pass. Sam goes to the bistro and takes a barrel of peppercorns from Nick so they can have eggs with it. Mm-hmm. And Sam tells him that Leanne's going to move out, and he says, next year I'll have the anniversary of losing 2 mums on consecutive days.
Just a joke.
And it's just a funny joke. And Nick's like, you're not losing her. She will not leave children alone.
Yeah, that was quite sweet. So Sam and Nick had some lovely little Bondy scenes this week I enjoyed. I also, just before we move on, because again, this is very long street talk, appreciated the Les Battersby reference. He got a good, 30 seconds of script dedicated to him today, didn't he? When Leanne and Toya were talking about, have you spoken to Les about what's going on? And Leanne's like, oh yeah, I phoned him up. He was at a wrestling match or something. And I'd love to know, is this inspired by Bruce Jones's recent foray into the world of professional wrestling? I think it kind of has to be.
Is it a bit meta?
Yeah. So we've Janice and Les have both got a mention this year. Janice got a mention when Toya had her cancer earlier in the year, and she said, I'm not telling her what happened. So it is nice to know that they still exist. They just don't ever want to visit Weatherfield again, despite whatever terrible dramas their children are going through. So thank you very much from a long-term fan. Any thoughts on this? Anything else you want to share, or is it all? You can't shake your head on a podcast, Gemma.
Okay, the only thing I'm thinking is, are we ever gonna see Toya, Leanne in her flat? Are they really gonna resurrect that flat set for just Toya and Leanne? Because it's really rare that a character will live by themselves. They've got Sean living with Dylan, which I think is a bit of a luxury from the perspective of studio space. Given how huge the cast is, it totally makes sense that most characters live together, because apart from the fact that it makes scenes easier between different characters, it's also really hard to fit physically space for everyone to have a set.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Leanne is going to move out makes me think she's either going to move in with somebody else is going to live with her fairly quickly, or we're not going to really see this her living space, or are we going to see Craig and Kirk's living space? Because now they've mentioned in one episode 2 sets that they don't have.
Yeah, 2 retired sets.
So what are they going to do? Are they going to bring them both back? Because something's got to go somewhere else.
I think that putting Craig in there is putting him out to pasture, to be honest.
I'm going to say it could be the rejuvenation of both Craig and Kirk to put them together, but sorry,
not interested.
Oh, right.
And I don't think that Leanne is going to want to share with anyone. And you don't have to in real life. Lots of people say, no, I want to live on my own, and that's perfectly fine. But Leanne is not the sort of person who would willingly want to share a flat with somebody who's not her family.
Again, I'm talking from
from a production
perspective, the same way we were talking about who killed Joel. There are 2 parallel considerations, production and story.
Yeah, no, she's not going to have anyone there. Right.
So are we going to see her, though, in there or not? Because
I'm thinking
this is a bit
not.
of a death knell for Leanne's character.
Yeah,
Not having a home set is a big deal.
I think that she's legacy character enough and important a character enough that...
Well, she's got the bistro to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's bad for her character to not have a set that you can see.
I'm kind of interested now, because I think that a reunion with Nick is possibly not on the cards at this point, but I am kind of interested to see her get a new man. I'd like to see her happy and romancing again. I want her to be with a new character. I don't want to be with anybody. I'd quite like there to be a new character created who is actually good for Leanne and just give us a bit of something nice, something
maybe
a bit
Rowan
positive.
will come back and live with her. We haven't seen the last of him.
Right. Well, who we have seen the last of this week, segueing into our next story, is Stu. Did you go into this week knowing that Stu was going to be gone?
I knew that he was leaving and it was coming up.
I knew he was leaving and he was coming up.
Because he went on
Bill
about it.
Fellows has said about it. But I did not think it was happening this week. If I did, I would have put Stu as our character profile this week and not Beth. So it was
And...
What?
He went on a Monday.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise for me when he was like, well, I'm going then. Because basically, on Monday's episode, he just kind of drops the bombshell out of nowhere. Oh, I'm going back to Germany then. And Dom says that he can stay there. There's a job going for him at a depot or something. And Yasmeen's like, oh, yeah, okay. She doesn't care at all, does she? It really speaks volumes about the relationship between Stu and Yasmeen, that she was so accepting of the fact that he is moving back to Germany.
Well, she's like, if that's what you want, and then she says to him, you know that you're gonna have to come back after 90 days.
Yeah,
because that's how long you can work there now. Because thanks to Brexit,
he ain't coming back.
But the way she says it is almost like she's saying, You're not coming back after 90 days, though, are you? You are going.
I just think, although I've not really been shipping Yasmeen and Stu, and in many ways Stu has dragged Yasmeen right down over the past few years, I was kind of led to believe that they did have a fairly good relationship.
Well, they had a complicated relationship.
They had complications, like where he thought that she was going after Roy, and he was worried that he wasn't clever enough for her, and obviously there was the falling out of a Mason. But I didn't think it was enough to say, well, I'm going, off you go then. It was quite similar to Carla and Peter splitting up. It was just like, oh, okay.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought that there was a story thread where they were having issues with intimacy, or they weren't sharing a bed or a bedroom or something. Like Yasmeen wouldn't physically commit physically to a romantic relationship with Stu.
I think that was more at the beginning.
Beginning. and then they kind of overcame it. But if you had told me they hadn't, and I dreamt that solution, I would believe you, because I don't know how you can go from waking up in the morning next to somebody to them saying to you at lunchtime, I'm going and leaving you, and you going, well, let's just have a drink before you go. That's what you say to somebody that you work with. I mean, they do work together.
There's definitely the possibility that there have been signs all along, and I do my brain switches off a little bit when we have the speed dial scenes, so it could have been telegraphed, but as far as I'm concerned, it was a bit of a damp squib of an exit. They have the drink in the pub. Stu tells Mason, "Oh, you're a cracking little cook, you." I've gone a bit Scottish now for some reason. I can't do Stu's accent at the best of times anyway. I've already been told on Facebook this week he's not actually from Newcastle. But anyway, he buggers off. He puts his guitar on his back, his tramp hat on his head, and off he goes down the street, and that's the last we see of him. It was really quite funny though that he walks down the street and he turns round. Yasmeen's kind of waved him off at the door. He's literally 2 or 3 steps down the road, turns round, and Yasmeen's already shut the door in his face. She's like, close the door on that part of my life.
Yeah,
not even enough to watch him wistfully disappear down the street.
Wave him off.
She's done. She's cut him out. He's dead to her now.
I'll make a cup of tea.
Yeah, but I did like that he had his homeless man attire on at the end. That was at least that bookends his appearances somewhat. Next morning, again, Monday was a 2-dayer, Mason comes into Speed Dial and tells her that he's decided to quit. We knew that from the other storyline, and he's found a job at a garden centre, and she says, oh, good luck then. And now she's on her own again.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
What on earth is next for Yasmeen?
Maybe.
I really don't know.
Maybe Toya can move in with Yasmeen.
I guess she could.
She's got nobody living there now.
They're both clever, kind of academic, learned people, aren't they?
I don't think that will happen. I think Leanne should move in with Yasmeen. That would be hilarious.
My gosh. They would not stick each
Passive-aggressive.
other.
I think that somebody else would get a glass in.
What is going to happen with Yasmeen now? Because it's been 4 years since the Jeff saga finished off, and Yasmeen really has been a shadow of her former self since then. I mean, Alia's going to come back at some point, isn't she? So the house isn't going to be empty for long. But I do really worry that they don't know what to do with Yasmeen.
They don't.
Maybe she's going to leave. I hope not.
No.
But I just do not know. I've got no clue or solutions for how to save Yasmeen.
I don't know
it was such a shame because she was riding so highly on that coercive control story.
But if she was to leave, what would they do with that house? You can't have Alia living there by herself. I mean, it's always possible, and I don't think I don't know anything. It's always possible that Zach decided not to come back.
No, I think she is coming
back. I know, but it's I know, but I'm just saying it's not unheard of for a woman to have a baby and say my priorities have completely changed.
Well, look, we've got a new producer coming in. Do they kick Yasmeen and Alia out and bring in a new family?
That's always a producer move, isn't it? A new producer move. So I'm going to have my pet family.
And number 6 is a bit of a turnstile. Yeah. I mean, the Nazirs have been living there for a decade now.
They've been there. They've been one of the most successful families.
I'm going to say that's prime territory for a Kate Brooks endorsed new family to come in.
It will be interesting to see. Kate Brooks surely has got to bring a family in, because that's just what producers do.
Not always, but.
Pretty much.
Well, maybe. Oh,
If I
don't think Kate Oates
if you were a new producer, would you like want to bring a family in, or do you think it's too risky and scary?
I'd like to make my mark and leave my legacy after I was gone. At least I could say I brought them.
I did this and I did that,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of one of the easiest way to sort of stamp yourself on the show is to make a family, but you know, it's so risky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ian McLeod is still the guy who brought in the Baileys, and they are arguably, all these years later, still not very well established. I'm not going to say they're a dud family, but they're not exactly iconic in terms of Coronation Street. I think that they've got
a lot of critics.
Yeah. I personally quite like the Baileys, but I can see that they're not as integrated as they should be for a family that's been there so long.
Even though I think that the Nazirs, really, there's only one left.
Yeah. I think we will do a character profile of Stu fairly soon, at some point in the next month, so we can talk about points like, remember
what
when
happened
Eliza...
to Lucy and Bridget?
Yeah, what happened to Lucy and Bridget? I was convinced that we'd get a little bit more about that, and I'm pretty... I'll probably put money on the fact that Coronation Street had plans to uncover more about the fact that the mum actually killed the waitress.
I think it's obvious that's
and not
what
the
happened.
daughter. That must have been a plan at some point, but now we'll never find out. Yeah, and also the whole thing where Mason drove into Eliza last year. He's got away with that, hasn't he?
Nobody knows it was him still.
No.
Which is weird, because I thought that would be part of Stu's leaving story.
Yeah, so did I. I thought that maybe he would find that out about Mason, and then he'd say, "Oh, I don't trust you anymore, Mason. I put all my trust in you.
I'm a bad person. I'm going to Germany."
Yeah, exactly. But oh well.
It doesn't make any sense that they put those two characters together with that backstory and never brought up Eliza being run over.
No. Look, let's hold fire on our Stu thoughts. We're already way overrunning this week. We started recording this. When was it? 7:15. We said this evening. It's now 10:30 at night, and we still haven't even finished Street Talk yet. We had, again, really skimming down this Paul story. Gemma, do you want to give because it wasn't not much happened, was it? It was just a few character moments of Gemma being sad and having no money, which we've seen plenty of times before.
Well, there's a ski trip at the school. Who would have guessed that would have happened? And Joseph wants to go, and they're worrying about how they're going to pay for it. The Winter Browns financial situation makes a mockery of the whole idea of. I don't know why they're doing it, because it goes without saying he can't go skiing. They can barely keep food on the table.
Where's Granny Linda?
I know.
Why can't she
Granny
pay
Linda
for his
is the fairy with a
trip?
magic wand that's supposed to wave it so that everybody can get what they want. But they could barely scrape by as it was. They were having dramas, and now Gemma's not even working. And Chesney's trying to get shifts from Dev, and he's like, "No, I can't give you any more, but I will let you do a deep clean at the kebab shop, so that you can get the money for that instead of me paying somebody else."
That just made me remember something that we saw when we went to see the set in the summer.
What?
About the kebab shop.
I don't remember at all.
You don't remember? Me? I'm not going to tell you now because we can't, but you don't remember something that we saw in the... Oh, I'll tell you when we pause it in a minute.
Oh, maybe I do. Yes, I do remember. Interesting. Okay, so Joseph and... Joseph decides he doesn't want to go on the skiing trip because it's causing too much drama, and
he overhears Gemma saying, "Oh, we can't afford it."
And Chesney go to see Rita, Gemma, because you're sad. Why Rita can't help them out?
Yeah, shouldn't go and see Rita. She'll give you the cash. She'll write you a check.
To be fair to Rita, if she'd given money every time I said she should, she definitely wouldn't have any left by now. So Joseph says, "I heard that we can't afford it," and Chesney says, "If you go, it will make Gemma happy." But again, she's getting panicky about him hurting himself, isn't she? And she's done this before. Like, she gets paranoid about people getting hurt.
Is she?
I think she has. So on Friday they buy him ski goggles, and Jenny's like fretting because she's having to cover Gemma's shifts because she's not working because she's on grieving leave. grieving, leaving, and she's trying to sort of encourage Chesney to get Gemma to come back to work. She's saying, you know, maybe she could do an odd hour or so.
Yeah, she does it in a bit of a cat-handed way, doesn't she? Which she admits when she goes to see Gemma later.
And and again, she lands herself in it when she tries to explain to Gemma and says, sorry if I was being clumsy, but, you know, at the end of the day, you've got a job and you're not doing it. And do you want to come back or not? And most people, I don't know how long she's had off.
Well, Paul's been dead for, I don't know, when did he die?
Exactly.
4 weeks ago?
His funeral, yeah. I mean, most people get 2 weeks for a close family member, which is what she's had double. And, you know, it's really horrible. I think, you know, in an ideal world, you'd have as long as you wanted. But again...
I was looking at the... it just happened to be out at school today, and I don't know whether... I think it's just I don't know whether it's like a Southampton council policy or something, but 3 days is what you are entitled to close family members.
At schools.
Well, is that? I don't know whether it's a school thing or whether it's a Southampton council thing.
Oh, I see.
But it's you know, in real life, you give your employees what you feel is a reasonable amount, and I certainly got longer than 3 days off of school when my mum died.
The idea that you would expect somebody to come and do a job like teaching on the 4th day after a close family member has died is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can see what Jenny's saying to Gemma, like, maybe it might help you. I mean, you can always try and see. At the moment, Gemma's spending a lot of time crying and skulking around.
Wearing Paul's onesie, which, by the way, Correction Corner, thank you very much to, I can't remember, who it was now, pointed out to me that Paul was seen wearing that black and white onesie at one point last year, so it wasn't invented for this story just because they didn't have the rights to be able to use the unicorn
they
one
do have
now.
the rights.
Well, not the rights, you know, it's
access.
up in there, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got mixed feelings about this because I definitely am on the side of anybody who needs to take as long as they want. But on the other hand, I don't feel like it's a bad demonstration of the dire situation that being in poverty puts you in, because she wouldn't have the luxury of even taking a day off, really.
Well, I'm just worried about the Rovers are going to go under again. Poor old Jenny, she's been...
Well, no, because Jenny's not paying... I assume she's not paying her.
Oh, I don't know,
Why would she be paying her when she's not coming in?
It depends what she's entitled to, doesn't it?
I don't think she's entitled to being paid for a month for not coming in.
But if Jenny is kind of being run ragged, then
if Jenny's
presumably
being nice
the
and
service
giving her...
that she's providing isn't...
Yeah, but if Jenny's being nice and actually giving Gemma money for not coming in, then, yeah, no wonder she can't hire anybody else because she doesn't have any money.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, Gemma eventually says, I'm going to go back to work.
Yes.
Which perhaps might be a bad idea.
Well, I think it's been set up to be a bit of a fail.
Because the thing about it is similar to your job in that you're required to be social with people when you don't want to, and they're very challenging social interactions. Being a teacher and being a barmaid, very similar jobs. But you know,
yeah, I don't think I've got to sling many people out.
But
on
yeah,
area, like...
but I'm saying it is exhausting. It's social. You're talking to dozens of people in a day, and your interactions have to be very carefully thought about.
Yeah.
You can't act how you feel when you're a teacher or a barmaid. You have to be upbeat and positive and encouraging.
Yeah, it's
like,
100%.
Do you want a pint?
I've got to put on a show.
Yeah.
Lid on a scream all the time. So state with
Final
the babe.
one.
Yeah, nothing really.
Everyone's moaning.
Yeah, has Gadas gone round, or do we see her go round?
Well,
we saw about Gadas.
Hope's got a cough, and Gadas is blaming.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's the vape's fault. Yeah, yeah, and
that's it.
Yeah, Fizz and Tyrone just have a nice start to the day when Monday begins.
They're
in
like
the middle of Monday's episode.
Leaf.
Yeah, they say, let's be fine. Let's just stop worrying about it now. Let's not have this story anymore.
Let's not talk about it.
That is it. Woo! Right, what a long street talk that was. Nearly 3 hours. Hope you enjoyed that. People tell us that they're like the long ones, but I think that this week's murder mystery certainly warranted an extended discussion.
A lot of it was going over stuff that's happened in previous weeks with all
the clues. Yeah. It was a bumper pack of stories to unpick this week. what are you going to give it score-wise?
I enjoyed I enjoyed this week more than you did. I think I'm going to give this 4 holes in a porcupine's backpack.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was a good one from Shona, wasn't it? I you gave it more bangings on the Street Talk shorts, but I was kind of erring more towards 4 as well. I think it was the intrigue of the murder mystery made it a bit more than the kind of 3.5 in the middle. I'm going to give it 4 caked up bogs, which is the rather unpleasant image that David painted of the poor state of the plumbing at number 8 when Carly and Ryan came visiting. So yeah, 4 caked up bogs out of 5.
In a sense, I kind of would like Carla to buy the Platts house just to see what she would decorate it like.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be nice.
Bit unrecognisable, wouldn't it?
It'd be very. She said she was going to rip the whole thing out. So
no, she did with the toilet, didn't she?
No, the whole thing, everything, all the house. Anyway, right. Who's your character of the week, Michael?
A really difficult one. Yeah, I'm kind of, in a way, I'm erring towards like somebody like Ed, even though he wasn't really a main player in the week, but I really, really was sympathising him this week, kind of getting dragged into this whole thing just because, because Ronnie was taking the lead a little bit.
Debbie was magnificent as usual.
Debbie, absolutely brilliant.
I love the fact that she knew, once she worked out that there was no good reason that Ronnie had Joel's address in his sat-nav, she was like, I don't even care that it's his birthday, I'm going to ask him straight, what the hell are you doing?
Debbie effortlessly lifts an episode
every scene she's
just by appearing in it. I mean, so I used to say that with Abby, and Abby doesn't do that quite so much anymore. But it feels like we don't know. Abby's in a bit of a limbo at the moment, which is a shame.
Sorry, not you, Abby. Abby and Nina.
The cat is like looking at Gemma at the moment, going, "What do you want?"
Saying her name. She's sitting on my lap. Abby and Nina appeared today for the first time in ages.
Well, Abby's been kind of semi-sporadic, but Nina, she's definitely been under a rock somewhere.
Abby today, she looked very nice.
Yeah, so I don't know whether to go for Ed or whether to go for Dee-Dee, Swain. But I've actually really enjoyed David this week as well. He's been consistently, solidly funny.
Right.
But it feels like it should go to somebody in the murder mystery story. I'm not going to go for Dee-Dee because she's been just a bit too much of a blubbering wreck this week. I'm going to...
Maybe Joel because
Sarah's been good.
Joel because he appeared post-death, which is always brilliant. I'm tempted to give it to Debbie because...
Yeah, Debbie, I love her. I would go for.
She uncovered a very important clue.
What?
The sat-nav with the address in.
Yeah.
And I loved also that she is immediately suspicious and wants to know an explanation, whereas most other soap characters would just like see it and brood over it and Google it and try to find out without confronting him. And she's just like twice in the episode, even though it's his birthday, she's like, what the hell is this?
I'm gonna go David this week. I think as much as I did appreciate Ed's inclusion, I think David was solid throughout the week. Still,
he's a certified Coronation Street legend.
He's still not, right. He's still not leading a main story in the same way that he did 5-10 years ago. And hasn't for a while. But yeah, he was great this week. Yeah. Well done, Jack P. Okay, well that at last is the end of this week's Street Talk. Very much looking forward to Monday and finding out who's going to have a flashback next.
We've got a lot of space on that photo.
Do you want to make a prediction for
It's like the opposite of the photo in Back to the Future where people keep disappearing in that one.
Yeah.
People keep appearing.
Yeah. Who do you think I'm thinking we're going to get a Swain.
Carla and Swain.
I think that Carla has nothing to do with this. Really do. I think we might get, we're going to get multiple sort of flashbacks from characters who have already had one sport, maybe. But yeah, I'm thinking Swain. I kind of want there to be a Kit one, but it almost feels like as soon as there's a Kit flashback, it'll confirm that it's him.
The thing is, the longer we go on, and the more flashbacks we see, and the more we don't see from certain people, the more obvious it will become it's actually them.
Yeah, but so it's a nice twist on the usual whodunit, because Corrie has not used flashbacks in this way for a whodunit before. So
I really hope it's not Joel's dad.
Yeah, that would be such a letdown. Are we going to have a flashback from Gus, honestly? Yeah, Swain flashback on Monday, please. Right, We're
maybe
done.
maybe a Betsy one, because do you think
Yeah.
that was Mason's flashback? It was, wasn't it?
That was Mason's
Not Betsy's.
flashback. Yeah, for sure. We done?
Yeah.
We're done.